Miami Dolphin head coach Joe Philbin was the Packers offensive coordinator for 5 years. Now in his initial season with the Dolphins, and offensive coordinator Bruce Arians is the Colts interim head coach while filling in for Chuck Pagano as he undergoes treatment for leukemia. We're told that Chuck is actually in attendance here this afternoon. We've had the flip of the coin. Colts won, and so Dan Carpenter and the Miami Dolphins will be kicking off. Miami at 4-3. Colts at 4-3, and Tom Zbikowski is back there to retrieve the kickoff. Miami and the Colts, surprising teams in the AFC, and away we go in Indy. And Zbikowski brings it out for the Colts. He was slowed up by Wilson, and then hit and brought down with Trusnick and company on a 34-yard return, which takes us to quarterback Andrew Luck. He has the highest winning percentage through week 8 by a rookie quarterback who was chosen #1 overall. In other words, he's doing real well with high expectations.
And that's because he's a dual threat, Kevin. Not only can he make plays with his arm, he has the ability to extend plays. He's an athletic quarterback and should not be underestimated in that area.
There's a rookie running back for the Colts who is making his 4th start today. That is Vic Ballard. He is out of Mississippi State, and 1st and 10 for Luck. Stands with the left tackle with a nice block. Low, and was it Donnie Avery with the reception? They say he got it. He was covered by Carroll to the 46. Pickup of 16 on 1st down for Indy. Donnie Avery with the grab. And they go quickly to the no huddle. Avery grabs it. 1st down and 10 from the 46. And working with a couple of tight ends. Here goes Ballard. Grabbed and devoured on the play on that line by Soliai, and a gain of 1. Here you take a look now at Joe Wrights replacing the injured Jeff Linkenbach. For the first time, the Colts have their offensive line intact. And receiver Reggie Wayne leads the NFL in receiving yards, having his best season so far. Mentioned Ballard starting at that running back position. We expect to see a lot of Donald Brown today, too. Who had some swelling in that surgically repaired knee. 2nd down and 9. Ballard. Odrick is there. Look at the great pursuit. Burnett brings him back. Loss of 3 on the play. Back to the 44. The defense, a terrific month of October for Cameron Wake, earns him the AFC Defensive Player of the Month. You just saw Kevin Burnett rated right now as one of the top outside linebackers in the NFL. And cornerback Sean Smith will keep a close watch on Reggie Wayne today. That should be a good matchup. Smith, the Dolphins' #1 corner. There he is. He's almost 6'4". We said he's got to be one of the biggest corners in the NFL.
He's got the range to be a shutdown corner.
They now go to 5 in the secondary. Wilson has joined the group back there. 3rd and 12 for Luck. He's a good running quarterback and finds his rookie tight end with the catch on the move, Allen. So Allen makes the grab. It's a gain of 22 yards on the play to the 34.
And what did they tell us about Dwayne Allen? They thought he was the better of the 2 rookie tight ends. You see him cross the face of Carlos Dansby, is able to catch that ball. And how about Luck just moving well enough in the pocket to create a nice window and clear himself of the traffic to complete that pass down the field to Allen.
Clemens comes in there too and makes the stop. So here we go. It's 1st down and 10. And the new running back is Donald Brown. Nice hit right there by Rashad Jones from the secondary. Flag has been thrown. That was good for a gain of 3 down to about the 30-yard line for Indianapolis.
Holding, offense number 76. 10-yard penalty, repeat, 1st down.
And that's the new guard today, Joe Wrights.
Wrights in for Lincoln Bach. Of course, he gets the penalty. Remember, Bruce Arians had served as the offense coordinator for the Pittsburgh Steelers. You're going to see a lot of similarities in the offense that he's now running here in Indianapolis. We remember Hines Ward in Pittsburgh being the move wide receiver. That's where you're going to find Reggie Wayne. He's going to line up to the right side, some on the left. He's going to motion down. And right now he's on the right side of the offense, but they want to get him the ball primarily.
Dolphins back in the nickel, 1st and 20. Brown, Big East running back of the year. Here's a run right into the grasp of Koamisi. Nice run stopper. That time getting the receiver Brown out of the backfield to the 36 and a gain of 7.
Clever choice of play that time by Bruce Arians. Just wanted to go with a screen to Donald Brown, hopefully get the offense back on schedule after the penalty. Now facing a 2nd and 13. He wants to get nice little gain here so that he doesn't leave himself with that 3rd and long, 3rd and 10 or longer. So they may check it down, look for a motion, maybe move to get the ball over to Reggie Wayne.
Wayne's on the move. 2nd down and 13 for Andrew Luck on the game-opening drive. Inside, the rookie Hilton makes the grab out of Florida International. Inside, he was stopped by Wilson, among others. That's a pickup of 12. They've had pass completions of 16 to Avery and 34 to Allen on the drive.
And they're not preventing that slot receiver from getting in the middle of the defense. They're not bumping. They're not jamming T.Y. Hilton at all. That time it was Jimmy Wilson, who has to really take an inside position on the slot wide receiver. That's just too easy. Andrew Luck is going to take that throw all day.
In the backfield, Robert Hughes now on a 3rd and 1. He's back there with DeLon Carter, and Carter gets the call. And Burnett right there. Dansby was submarining. No gain on the play. They stop him right at the 25.
Wow, creating a 4th and 1 situation. This is a really good, dominant Miami Dolphins defense. Strong at the point of attack. You can see the plays right there. Carlos Dansby getting into the backfield. Kevin Burnett getting into the backfield as well. Very active group of linebackers getting penetration to shut down the Colts on that run play.
They're going to try for 3 right here. One thing you and I were talking about, Solid, the Dolphin defense has not allowed a first-half touchdown since week 2 against the Raiders, a game we did in Miami.
Well, their 1st and 3rd down defense, 2nd in red zone defense, as you saw on that play.
Well, here's Adam Vinatieri, a Super Bowl champion with the New England Patriots, trying a 43.
They got him.
They sure did. And the ensuing conference with Tony Corrente and his veteran crew here in Indy this afternoon.
Prior to the movement by the snapper, delay a game, offense, 5-yard penalty.
Now, how about that? First of all, could have been first. Now it's going to be a 48-yard field goal try.
Wow. So they did jump, but after they ran out of time, the penalty flag turns out it's on the Indianapolis Colts.
Now, before the game, Vinatieri hit a couple from 58 yards, but at the other end, like it matters inside the dome, the roof not open today, this will be a 48-yard try with the punter McAfee on the hold, and he misses. How about that? That penalty could have been a lot. It saves the Dolphins, and they hold on the first. There was a flag thrown on that play, and I think Miami's going to decline. Looks like it's on the Colts.
Holding, offense number 72. This penalty has been declined. The result of the play is that Miami will kick the ball from the spot of the kick. It'll be Miami's ball.
All right, 9:34 in the first. Here come the Dolphins. So Vinatieri misses for the Colts from 48. A lot of eyes on Tannehill. Solomon Wilcots before the game during pregame warmups.
And what did he tell us? He was most impressed in terms of his area of improvement, in terms of his ability to move around in the pocket, not take off and run so quickly. I think that brace on that left knee might keep him in the pocket more today.
Good beginning field position, too. Here's Reggie Bush shedding a couple that come up, and then Connor, 53, got him around the ankle. I think knocked him off stride. That is a gain of 1 on the play. There's a look at Ryan Tannehill during the 3-game winning streak. He has gone 40 of 60 passing, over 400 yards. On the line, center Mike Pouncey, a former number 1. Jake Long is a number 1 at the left tackle. Martin's a rookie at the right tackle. Hartline had a fast start, but has cooled off. Bess is a very good 3rd down receiver. Now 2nd and 9. Tannehill out of Texas A&M finding Bess. Vaughn, who makes the start today for former Dolphin Vontae Davis, makes the stop. Pick up a 14, first down to the 46-yard line of Indy.
Well, you love Tannehill. Look at the anticipation. He just cuts it loose. Even before the receiver makes his breaks. I think as a former college wide receiver, he's got as good a feel for reading the body language of other receivers. He said it really helps him in playing the quarterback position.
Good tempo. Here comes Pouncey leading the way along with Martin. It's a sweep over there by Bush, running out of real estate. Also, Moala over there making the stop, and there he is. He's going to start on the line today. Missed a couple games with an injury. Robert Mathis returns after missing 3 games with a knee injury Freeney starts, but he's still not 100% with a high ankle sprain on the other side. In the secondary, former Dolphin Vontae Davis, and last week hurt his knee against Tennessee. Placed by Cassius Vaughn today. Powers and Thayer. Pro Bowl. 2nd down and 8. First possession for Miami. Low and looking for Marlon Moore. And the coverage on the play by the aforementioned Gerard Powers. 3rd and 8 coming up.
Powers has great anticipation on this slant route. Remember, don't allow the receiver to cross your face. He is on that upfield shoulder, raking at the hands. Was able to pry that ball loose. I thought Tannehill put the ball where you want on a slant play. You want to throw it low, understanding the leverage of the defensive back where you need to put the football.
Get there, leave.
5 in the secondary. 3rd down and 8. That is grabbed. Hartline on the move. Vaughn brings him down with Zbikowski. A catch and run of 13. They go to the 30. First down, Miami.
Now, we saw Tannehill week 2 against the Raiders. Watch this. He allows Bush to clear coverage, and then he hits Hartline as a second crossing receiver. Understanding that that window was going to come open, I thought it was great anticipation by Tannehill. Really the ability to read the coverage and go to the second option and not taking Bush as the first option.
Teduseu is now on the defensive line for the Colts. It's play on the move. 1st and 10 from the 30. Bush into a thicket. Not much there. Being held by Justin Hickman out of UCLA. There is no gain. They remain where they are. 2nd down and 10.
This team has struggled to run the football in recent weeks. And I believe that they're going to have to run the football today. You can't continue to put it on Ryan Tannehill. Remember, this is an offense that has failed to top 300 yards in total offense in each of their last 3 games. If you want to improve those numbers, you're going to have to do so by running the football.
Jaworski Lane is in the backfield. That's play. The top of your screen. Moore at the bottom on a 2nd down and 10. Bush. Flag is thrown. Up the middle into the grasp. Teduseu. Gain of 2 as it stands right now. And they're going to put him at the 28-yard line. And they'll relay it to us.
Offside. Defense number 93. In the neutral zone at the snap. 5-yard penalty. Repeat. 2nd down.
That's Freeney, Solomon.
There it is, Freeney. We saw him at the bottom of the screen. Watch that right there. Working against Jake Long. Trying to get up the field a little bit. Hard count. Got him.
How do you like that Miami offensive line?
Well, I think they're really good. They do need to start doing a better job of getting movement up front in the running game. Remember, they're big, strong, physical. Jake Long, Richie Incognito, Pouncey's a 1st-round pick. Jerry is a 3rd-round pick.
Thomas is in the backfield and gets the call. Lane with the block, and it's a grab there by Vaughn on that 2nd down and 5 and a pickup of 6. Thomas out of Kansas State to the 19. That is a 1st down for the Fins.
We talk about the offensive line. They have 2 1st-round picks in Pouncey and Long. They have a 2nd-round pick in right tackle Jonathan Martin. We already told you, John Jerry, he's a 3rd-round pick. You've got some high picks, draft choices on that offensive line. Ought to be able to do a better job of getting movement up front in the running game.
They play the drive. Here's a 1st down. They've had a 14-yard pass to Bess and a 13-yard catch and run by Hartline. Here comes Mathis. Down goes Tannehill. That's a sack. A sack for the 8th consecutive game for him. The loss back to the 28. That is a loss of 9.
The speed beats Jonathan Martin at the top of the screen. Number 71, there's Mathis closing in. He's been out for 3 weeks with a sprained left knee. And as you can tell right now, he's healthy. He's wearing a brace on that knee, but his speed is proven to be too much for Jonathan Martin. We'll have to see if they leave Martin one-on-one against Mathis.
How about in his absence? The Colts only had 3 sacks. Here's his first game back. And he already brings down Tannehill, who's a little bit limited with his motion to begin with. 2nd down and 19. Thomas remains. Tannehill. Oh, he's got Fasano, who is picked up on the play by Bethea. It's incomplete. Fasano could not catch up with it as we catch up with New York in this update with James Brown from New York.
All right, Baltimore getting it done on the ground.
Well, Solomon's been talking about running. How about Ray Rice? Here's an 8-yard touchdown run. They go up 7-0. On that first drive, he had 6 carries for 32 yards. Baltimore scores first.
Solomon, I love your guy, Kevin Harlan. Down goes Tannehill. Back to Kevin.
I like the synergy we got working there, guys.
Here's a 3rd and 19 for Tannehill. Looking into the nickel. They need the 9. Tannehill. Bess. They got him cornered. First hit was put on him by Bethea. Pickup of 9 in field goal range. And the Dolphins will try for 3. Mathis again there with a hand in it.
Well, Tannehill's going to get the completion here to Devon Bess. But even if you go back to that second down play, I thought Tannehill had Anthony Fasano matched up one-on-one against Antoine Bethea. Should have been a completion and possibly a touchdown. I know Tannehill wishes he had that one to do over again.
So here's Dan Carpenter. This will be a 37-yard field goal try. Well, that net's all screwed up. Doesn't matter. He nails it right down the middle. Carpenter from 37. Philbin's Dolphins on top now, 3-0. Tannehill was sacked. He went 3 of 5 on that draft. They got the 37-yard field goal.
But remember, he only had half the reps during the week of practice this week nursing that left knee injury.
Hilton leaves it in the end zone. The drive produces a 37-yard field goal. Boy, they had a litany of great quarterbacks here. John Unitas, of course, one of the best that's ever played. And then this guy, Peyton Manning. Is luck in that same mold? We'll find out as the season goes on. Well, we've all been so aware of what's happened in the East Coast. Help victims of disasters like Superstorm Sandy. Text Red Cross at 90999 to make a $10 donation to the American Red Cross Disaster Relief Fund. CBS, all of us care so much. They had the touchback to the 20 is where Luck, who began the first drive 4-4 through the air. First draft offensively for the Miami Dolphins produces a 3-point field goal, and here we go the other way with a 1st and 10 pass, and it goes outside with Wilson and company. Looking at Wayne, it is a gain of 7.
Well, how about Andrew Luck beginning the game red hot on that first possession, going 4 for 4, showing us some movement out of the pocket, still completing passes with great accuracy. Then the dump off on the screen to Donald Brown. And what did he tell us? He said, hey, the NFL is a place where it's hard to win games, it's hard to score touchdowns, it's hard to just put together drives. Being a Stanford graduate, Kevin, I think hard, the word hard, that's a relative term for him.
It probably is. That was knocked away by Wilson on that 2nd down and 3 after the first gain was a catch and run by Wayne for 7. Wilson comes flying in, knocks it away. Now 3rd and 3 coming up for Indy.
Yeah, by hard, I think he means slightly difficult. You can see there, of course, the defender, Wilson, making it a little more difficult for Luck to complete this pass. His first incompleted pass of the game. I think Wilson, yeah, he did get a hand on it, Kevin.
Olivier Vernon will come in. There's a look at Wilson. He'll be joined now in the secondary by R.J. Stanford. So the nickel back there. 3rd down and 3. They get by Costanzo. Olivier Vernon can't get him. But that catch is made by Wayne right in front of a diving Wilson. That is a pickup of 8 on 3rd and 3. That's a 1st down. They'll mark the ball at the 36.
You're not going to see Andrew Luck in the pocket, but boy, did he make a move to be able to get this ball outside to Reggie Wayne. He had pressure in his face. Now watch how he just slightly moves. We talk about movement in the pocket by quarterbacks. Therein you saw the athleticism of Luck, buying a little bit more time until Reggie Wayne uncovered to complete the pass on 3rd down. Remember, the Dolphins are the best defense on 3rd down in the National Football League.
Dolphins back to the base in the backfield. Ballard 1st and 10. And with 2 tight ends, Ballard fumbles the ball. I don't know if Jones knocked it away, but he did something, and Carroll comes over there and snuffs him out. That's a loss of 4. Put him back at the 33.
Kevin Coyle will bring linebackers. He'll bring defensive backs like Rashad Jones. Look at the right hand right there. See, that swats the ball out.
Sure he did.
You get
Absolutely.
the ball out on the ground enough in this league. Seems like right underneath the receiver there, able to get the ball out, causing the fumble on that play. Look, slicing right in front of Donnie Avery, and all they need is someone there to scoop that one up. I think the Colts are very fortunate.
I'll be back in the nickel. 2nd down and 14 for Luck. See Smith and Wayne down there going to be with each other all day long. A pass outside. Coverage on the play by Nolan Carroll. Out of bounds, Donnie Avery was the intended target. Now 3rd and 14.
Oh, this is just good coverage by Carroll. Look at him flip the hips and watch him drive on the ball. See him get that hand right there, knocking the ball loose. It's just a good drive angle. Excellent use of his hands to knock Donnie Avery off the ball, rendering the pass incomplete.
Carroll is starting for a 4th game for the injured Richard Marshall. He's got a back injury. 3rd and 14. They need the 46. 5 defensive backs for Miami. Coming again. Pressure was right there, but they cut the receiver. T.Y. Hilton curling around, brought down by Wilson, head by Clemens on 3rd and 14. It's a gain of 25 and a first down to the Miami 43.
Andrew Luck is playing like a veteran. Watch the pocket collapse. His ability to move but still throw it with accuracy down the field. They had Hilton matched up against the safety, Jimmy Wilson. See, even under pressure, he's able to drive that ball some 20 to 30 yards down the field to complete and convert the 3rd long situation against a really good defense.
Second time, Solomon, they've converted 3rd and 10 or longer.
Andrew Luck is getting hot.
Couple tight ends. Here is a first and 10 for Luck. Fake to Ballard. Good block by Satelli. Going deep for the tight end. Incomplete. Look at the linebacker, Koamisi. And they're going to throw a flag on him around the 10. Misi was stride for stride with Dwayne Allen.
See, this is Andrew Luck just knowing the matchup that he had with Allen. He knows Allen can outrun Misi. If I just put the ball on the front side, there's going to be a catch.
Pass interference. Defense number 55. Automatic first down.
It's a game of matchups, Kevin. You get Allen down the field against Misi. Look, Misi never looks back for the ball, makes contact incidentally. Nonetheless, they're going to penalize him for interference. He did interfere with Dwayne Allen's ability to make the catch on this ball. He was playing man and not the ball. Misi's not used to being in that position down the field against an athletic tight end.
Misi had a good game against the Jets. Here we go. 1st and goal at the 10. See the assortment of receivers for Luck. And the handoff goes to Hilton. And he has run out of bounds. Nice pursuit right there by Cameron Wake. It's a gain of 1. They'll put him at the 9.
Not sure that I'm ecstatic about that play. I don't like reverse plays down inside the red zone. It's already crowded down there. And then the receiver, he's running toward the sideline. He's not getting toward the line of scrimmage. Love to see Bruce Arians call up something that's going to get the ball moving toward the goal line instead of running laterally.
Vernon is on the line. They brought in Houston Randall. He's going to see more snaps today because Tony McDaniel's inactive with their injury. 2nd down and goal at the 9. Luck, a little wide, incomplete for Hilton. Boy, they're going on him, and they're working on Jimmy Wilson.
Well, we told you that this is the 2nd best red zone defense playing for the Miami Dolphins. Kevin Coyle's defense has been really good. We talked about the activity of the linebackers and the secondary defenders. And Luck put this one on the outside because I think the tight coverage by Wilson forced that throw just to be on the outer edges, because if it's on that back hip, Wilson could pick it off.
You're right about the red zone holding. They've only allowed 2 touchdowns in their opponent's last 7 red zone trips. Number 2 red zone, as Solomon just said, for Miami's D's. 3rd and goal at the 9. Wake was coming up the middle. Great reception. Reggie Wayne, touchdown Colts. Beautiful throw. About the only place where he could have caught it.
Yeah, anytime you go to the back of the end zone, it's got to be high. And that's exactly where Luck put it. And watch Wayne coming in here. Look at this against Sean Smith. See, over the defender Jones, only where his guy could get it, Reggie Wayne. He's a retriever of the football. That means he went and got it.
That is a 9-yard touchdown pass by Andrew Luck, his 9th touchdown pass of the season. A 9-yarder to Reggie Wayne, who leads the NFL in receiving yards. Vinatieri puts up another point. 7-3 Indy. It's Luck to Wayne. 47 seconds in the first quarter. Reggie Wayne having some kind of a season for the Colts.
Oh, he is definitely leads the league in receiving yards. And You know, he decided he wanted to stay here in Indianapolis when he got the call from Chuck Pagano saying that, hey, take a leap of faith. And boy, has he. Now he sticks around long enough to pass Edgerrin James to become third on the franchise touchdown list. 76 touchdowns behind the likes of Marvin Harrison and Lenny Moore.
How about Luck? Third down passing today, converting 3rd and 2, 3rd and 14, 3rd and goal at the 9, and he finds Wayne, and Thigpen is back on a knee. The Indiana Hoosier falling down right there. Touchback to the 20. Nice beginning for Luck, who is 8 of 11 with a touchdown pass. Our first quarter clock at 47 seconds. After the 9-yard touchdown pass, Luck to Reggie Wayne. Here's the ensuing possession by Miami. First down and 10. Fake to Bush, who offers a block. He's going for Hartline deep, and he's got him! Working on Gerard Powers. Beautiful rainbow pass by Tannehill. They pick up 35, put him at the 45 of Indy.
We got ourselves a shootout between two talented rookies. Play action, double move by Hartline, and dropping it right in the bucket does Ryan Tannehill, going to his favorite receiver. We talked to these guys about this, even Brian Hartline. You guys don't have a deep threat. When are you going to start pushing the ball down the field? And here's Hartline going up top in the first quarter.
There's a challenge now thrown out there by interim head coach Bruce Arians.
They want to know, did he get both feet in bounds? Did he have possession when he made the catch? He said, well, I might as well take a look at it.
Indianapolis is challenging the ruling on the field of a completed pass.
It was interesting, too. I've been talking about Hartline a lot this morning, and that was about how much he has not been a part of what's going on. There goes a foot that looked like it. That was very close. So the challenge by Indianapolis, trying to get at that 35-yard completion as it stands to Hartline.
Completed pass. Indianapolis will be charged with a timeout.
Indy just got a timeout taken away. Their failed challenge at the 35-yard completion to quarterback from quarterback Tannehill to the receiver Hartline.
Yeah, Hartline makes this catch, Kevin. You're going to see it. Catch right there, 1 foot down. 2nd foot down. 3rd foot is the one that goes out of bounds. Hartline said he and Tannehill are like two quarterbacks sharing the same mile.
First down and 10. Going inside once again. Hartline right there. Powers was on him. Quick slant, producing 10. Another first down. Now we'll see if they get one more away as they once again work their way deep into Indianapolis territory.
Oh, looks like the clock is going to wind down and they're going to resume play in the second quarter. Both of these young quarterbacks playing very well in the early going, Kevin.
Miami a 37-yard field goal. Colts a 9-yard touchdown pass to Wayne. You're watching the NFL on CBS, home of Super Bowl 47. Well, starting the second quarter with a run of 3 yards on 1st and 10 by Bush. Angerer, a terrific tackler, makes the stop in the middle for Indy.
Kevin, I want to show you something on the touchdown. Look at the bunch formation. Reggie Wayne tight, but look, he's off the ball, so that forces the cornerback, Sean Smith, to be off the ball. He doesn't want to be picked in that bumper run position, so he loses leverage on Reggie Wayne. He gets inside for an easy touchdown. So it's about alignment for Sean Smith, something to look for later in the game. He can't get up on the line of scrimmage to bump Reggie Wayne.
Long, at least in the words of Freeney, the motions.
False start. Offense, number 77. 5-yard penalty. Remains second down.
He's a good one, and they just called him right there.
Yep, you're going to see him right over here.
Freeney was all over, wasn't he? Yeah.
That's right. He said he flinched. I saw him move. These guys will make you flinch. They're that fast.
Absolutely. Second down and 12. Tannehill 5 of 7. Long the block, incognito the block, and maneuvering for position was the wide receiver, Jabbar Gaffney, over there, and he was in hand-to-hand combat with Cassius Vaughn.
But there's a flag down. Cassius Vaughn, I think he was undressing the receiver.
Illegal contact, defense number 32. 5-yard penalty, automatic, first down.
And as we said earlier, he is replacing the injured
right
Vontae
there.
Davis.
See it at the top of the screen. You can't jam the receiver beyond the 5-yard bump area. Once they get beyond 5 yards, you play coverage with your feet and not your hands. Inside 5 yards, you play coverage with your hands to help reroute the receiver and impede his progress down the field. Once you get beyond 5 yards, you have to play coverage in the NFL with your feet and not your hands.
New running back is Lamar Miller. He didn't play last week against the Jets. Darius Butler has taken the place of Zibikowski in the secondary for the Colts. It's first down and 10. Miller looking to keep his balance. Anger brings him down. Near the 25, and a run there of 7 yards by the rookie out of Miami, Lamar Miller.
For me, Kevin, this is what you do. So you got to run at Mathis, and this is what they're doing. See, Mathis can't get off that block, and then they're just rolling up rush yards, and that's why I think they've got to be able to run the ball here today.
Woof, nice knockdown right there. Justin Hickman on the pass, and a flag across the way too on that 2nd and 3.
Quit counting us to death, aren't
They are. They're trying to get that tempo up.
Illegal shift, offense. 2 players moving at the same time, never reset. 5-yard penalty, repeat, 2nd down.
See, they got themselves on the quit count. and Joe Philbin, that's what he wants. He wants an offense that's going to play fast with great tempo. Try to keep this defense off balance. The first thing he did when he got to Miami, instituted a practice where they can rip off as many practice plays in terms of time as they possibly can. Very efficient coach.
2nd down, Daniel Thomas in the backfield with the quarterback who offers a block and buys time for Tannehill, and that is caught. Clay to the pylon. That is a touchdown. Great run, terrific throw, and a wonderful block by running back Daniel Thomas to buy his teammate, the quarterback, Tannehill, time.
We talk about matchups. Watch Clay working against 51 Pat Angerer on the right side of your screen. Gets it outside, turns it upfield, steps out of the tackle, gets it in for a touchdown. And how about Tannehill recognizing the matchup and throwing that ball with great accuracy? One might say Tannehill is matching the excellence we've seen so far in this game by Andrew Luck.
That was a 31-yard touchdown pass to Charles Clay, 2nd-year player out of Tulsa. The ensuing extra point is away and in. And Miami on top by 3. Tannehill throws the touchdown. Clay chugging his way finds the house. And the Dolphins back on top in Indy early in the 2nd quarter. Well, it's a matchup today of the 1st and the 3rd quarterbacks selected in the April draft. That guy was taken number 8, but the 3rd quarterback chosen. He's just thrown a 31-yard touchdown pass. Zibikowski in the back of the end zone. He'll leave it there. They'll go to the 20 with the touchback. And we have got ourselves a shootout here in Indy, it would appear, early on. And coming up on the Verizon Halftime Report, join JB, Dan, Janet Boomer, and Coach Bill Cowher for all the latest NFL scores and highlights, all the up-to-date news. That's all coming up on the Verizon Halftime Report from our CBS studios in New York.
You know, when you play 17 games in college for your now offensive coordinator at Texas A&M, you're playing in the same system, you can get off to a fast start early in your career.
Allen in the backfield, 1st and 10 for Luck. Oops. 3 down. Luck going deep and looking for. Oh, what a catch! Donnie Avery has just made the grab. All kinds of defensive pressure was there to the 32. It's a 48-yard gain as it stands. What a throw and what a catch by Avery.
How about Andrew Luck understanding?
Offside, defense in the neutral zone at the snap. This penalty is declined. The result of the play, 1st down.
Yeah, Luck knew he had a free play. He said, I'm going to take a shot, and that's what he does. Avery will split the double team. He was double covered on the play. He still runs by the safety and by the corner, Sean Smith.
Carter, the new running back, and takes it up the gut. You can see the pile right there, including in the middle, Soliai. It's a gain of 3. He's down to the 30-yard line.
You go back and take a look at the touchdown, and here's Charles Clay here. He's going to be matched up man-to-man against a linebacker and Pat Angerer. And what you have to understand, Tannehill recognizes I got the matchup advantage. He knows it's single high man-to-man coverage. He takes advantage of it right away with an accurate throw, but how about the processing, understanding where the matchup was and turning it into a touchdown?
Derek Shelby on the defensive line for the Finns. 2nd down and 7. And this is Carter. Into the side, jumping on his back was Dansby. It's a gain of 4. They'll put him at the 25. To New York and James Brown.
Playing smart can pay dividends.
I know Solomon Wilcots loves great defense. How about this, Brian Urlacher? Reading Matt Hasselback's eyes the whole way. He's going to take this back 46 yards for an interception return. The Bears just recovered another fumble. They are smothering the Titans 21-2.
Grit, determination, and smart play by Urlacher. Back to Kevin and Solly.
The 6th pick 6 by the defense of Chicago.
They play defense in Chicago, and you love going to that stadium to watch the Bear play for that reason.
Luck on 3rd and 3. It's the running back, Vic Ballard, who caught the game-winning touchdown reception last week in Nashville. 14-yard pickup, an acrobatic move to the 11, 1st down.
It's a play by design to get Luck out on the move because he's real good at doing it, and they get out on the edge of the defense. And right now, Andrew Luck is making plays against one of the better defenses in the league in the Miami Dolphins. And I think their defensive coordinator, Kevin Coyle, what did he tell his secondary? Don't allow them to get behind you. They've already allowed that to happen here in the 2nd quarter.
That's Kevin Burnett, who is down. We have an injury timeout, 11:38 in the 2nd. Kevin Burnett is out, and you see him right there. A very important part of this defense. Jonathan Freeney, a first-year player out of Rutgers, is now in for the Finns. Here's a 1st and 10 at the 11. Carter remains in the backfield. Base D for Miami. Here comes Audric. There goes Carter. Rashad Jones holding on for dear life, allowing a gain of 3. Solomon down to, and there was a flag that fell out of a guy's pocket. I think it was inadvertent.
Yeah.
It was inadvertent, so there is no, well, maybe there is a flag. On the far side, there's one. Yep, they found one. The other one just kind of fell out of the guy's pocket.
An eligible member of the offense downfield, number 64. 5-yard penalty, repeat, 1st down.
Ex-Dolphin center, current Colt center, Samson Satelli.
Take a look at Andrew Luck, even when everything isn't right. Look, pressure in his face. See how he just kind of held it until Audric sort of moved out of his way, was still able to flick that ball out. He told us that in the end zone and in the red zone where he doesn't want to force throws. Already 2 red zone interceptions so far this year, tied for most in the National Football League.
Burnett back in as a linebacker, 1st and 15. There's Floridians very familiar with him. There's a tackle made by Olivier Vernon. It's a gain of 2. Hilton, as we mentioned before, from Florida International. They actually traded up. They thought he was going to be the good return guy. But he's been a better receiver than a return guy.
He's been a pleasant surprise for this football team. I think so has Donnie Avery. You talked about a complement of wide receivers. T.Y. Hilton, you talked about from Florida International, teaming up with Reggie Wayne, who Andrew Luck said was the pillar of their locker room and the pillar of their passing game.
5 in the secondary, including Wilson, 2nd and 13. Justice a block at the right tackle, deflected by Carroll, I believe, and Clemens was there as well. They were looking inside. Carroll with a nice play, incomplete pass. I think they were going for Reggie Wayne.
Oh, Carroll did a really good job on this one. He was tight in coverage. If you stay on the upfield shoulder so you can come underneath at the last moment. And he was able to get there. Now they're saying, was there some contact? There was some slight contact, but you gotta let them play football. Was there contact? Yes. Was there interference? I don't think so. And the two are not the same, Kevin.
And to correct myself, it was Hilton they were going after. Happened so doggone fast. 3rd down and 13. Same alignment defensively. Up on the near side, that's the running back, Vic Ballard. Caught it, Burnett there to knock him out of bounds. That's a gain of 9 on the play. And they're going to have to settle for a 3-point try.
Oh, much better red zone defense on this possession by the Miami Dolphins. Remember, they allowed the touchdown throw to Reggie Wayne on the previous red zone possession by the Indianapolis Colts. Joe Philbin's got to be happy with the way his defense played it, but they did give up the long 48-yarder to Donnie Avery to set up the field goal.
Here is a 23-yard field goal try by Adam Vinatieri. That ties the game. 9:37 to play in the first half. Each quarterback with a touchdown pass this afternoon. How about our two quarterbacks today, Solomon? 18 to 24 combined, 2 touchdown passes, almost 300 passing yards already combined.
Yeah, absolutely. And both are just playing dead on. They're reading the defense. They're taking advantage of the matchups, and they're throwing the ball with great accuracy.
McAfee kicks it to Marcus Thigpen, who had a nice 57-yard kickoff return last week, and he'll pick and poke his way before getting drilled on the play by Darius Butler out of UConn. That's a 26-yard return for the Fins.
Take a look at some student quarterbacks of Joe Philbin. How about Aaron Rodgers? He threw 132 touchdown passes and just 37 interceptions in 5 seasons under Joe Philbin. And Matt Flynn set a Packers franchise record with 6 touchdown passes in last year's season finale. I think there's been a noticeable improvement in the play of both quarterbacks with the Miami Dolphins. Joe Philbin has the ability, I think, to move the needle at the most important position in football.
Daniel Thomas in the backfield, first and 10. Look out from behind! It was caught there by Long on the ball that was charged free with a wicked hit from Freeney, and it's a gain of 2. As the big lumbering Jake Long finds a couple yards.
Yeah, and it was Jake Long's guy who got the hit on the quarterback coming off the top of your screen. Look at the spin move by Freeney coming underneath Long, forcing the fumble, and Jake Long, he looks reluctant to be carrying that ball, but look at Freeney. The strip and the sack. This is something he's been prone to do throughout his 11-year career. And if you're Jake Long and you're going to get beat that badly, you better recover the fumble.
Second down and 8. Maybe a wrong route run by the receiver. Hartline looked like the quarterback was thinking he was going to go in. Hartline got kind of stubbed there at the line.
How about pressure in the face of the quarterback?
Sure.
And that's why you pull it down. Remember week 1, Tannehill had several passes tipped at the line of scrimmage, of course, by J.J. Watt, who's been doing that to everyone. But I think Tannehill has learned from the experience. Remember, Philbin told us, you've got to be able to move defenders with your eyes, or even with a pump fake. I thought he was able to do that there and avoid the sack.
5 in the secondary. Bush is at the side of Tannehill. Third down and 8. Reggie Bush on the move. First down, meeting the block, and then a tackle by Bethea. 19-yard catch and run on 3rd and 8. First down to the 41.
Someone drop coverage. Look at that, Reggie Bush. And that is, of course, Robert Mathis. Remember, he's playing outside linebacker, having played the defensive end position in a 4-3 front. Now in a 3-4 defense, he's an outside linebacker. You can't rush the quarterback until you check coverage. Bush was not blocking that time. He released on a pass route, so Mathis should have taken it.
First and 10. Daniel Thomas. And from behind, chased down by Ricardo Matthews. A catch and run to the 49-yard line of Indianapolis.
Not only is Tannehill reading the blitz and hitting his check down guys, he's just being accurate throwing the football. With only half the snaps taken in practice this week, the rainbow to Brian Hartline, then the touchdown strike to Charles Clay, beating man-to-man coverage for the score. Tannehill has played really well despite not having a full week of practice.
First and 10. Thomas. Pouncey and Long out there to offer some blocks. He gets by Zibikowski. He's chased by Freeman. And he's brought down by Vaughn. Nice looking run right there of 21 yards. And put the ball at the 28-yard line.
He's going to go take a look out here. Look at Jake Long getting out in front. Pouncey, the center, pulling, getting to the edge. Zibikowski can't get there to make the tackle. And so this offensive line, we said it, you got to use all those draft picks on your offensive line. They ought to be able to run the ball today on this Colts defense, and so far they're doing just that.
That Reggie Bush had a catch and run at 19, a 10-yard catch and run by Thomas, 21-yard run by Thomas moments ago. First and 10. Tannehill, Hartline, drilled by Powers. That is a gain of 7 on the play. Now to the 21-yard line. Tomorrow, Barney has a new wingman. Catch a new How I Met Your Mother. That's tomorrow at 8 Eastern, 7 Central, only on CBS. Second down and 3. Drive started back at the Dolphin 20-yard line.
Joe Philbin's got to like what he's seeing with his offense. They've got good balance running and passing the football.
It's Thomas hit by Bethea on that 2nd down and 3. He carves out 2. He works his way to the 19-yard line.
Now, we talked about both quarterbacks getting hot and getting some rhythm in the early going of this game, Kevin. Well, how about the Dolphins? Tannehill, he's aided by a running game. Right now, Dolphins 42 yards rushing as opposed to only 2 yards rushing by the Indianapolis Colts. So it's all on the shoulders of Andrew Luck, while Tannehill's got some good balance. He can mix and match and take some shots in play-action pass.
The Colts only have 3 defensive backs, 3rd and 1. Thomas, Redding, met him inside the X line. Looks like he's close to a first down on that 3rd down and 1. I think he got inside the 18. He had to get to the 18 for the first. They may have to mark this drive, which had a nice play to begin things with Reggie Bush.
Yeah, and Bush is now coming back into the game. They want to use Daniel Thomas whenever they want to hit it up inside on some of those power runs. As we take a look at this play, they bring in Daniel Thomas. See if he got to the sticks. I think he's going to be just right around there and be very close. I think he's going to get it.
Dolphins come in on a 3-game winning streak, including back-to-back wins on the road. And, you know, 2 young teams, Solomon, tried to deal with early success, unexpected early season success.
Well, they had coaching changes. We talk about a change of culture, I think, with both teams. That's what Joe Philbin's trying to do in Miami with the Dolphins. And, of course, Bruce Arians, the interim coach, filling in for Chuck Pagano. They're switching over from a 4-3 defense to 3-4. You got change in personnel, and both doing it with very young quarterbacks.
Back to 4 defensive backs. Here's Bush on first down and 10. Got a nice block there by Lane. Look at him cut back into the secondary and to the house. Wow. And a late hit by Vaughn. That'll be a flag on the Colts. That is a catch and run. 18 yards, a run by Reggie Bush, who got that handoff and takes it in for the touchdown.
Nothing is so sweet as watching Reggie Bush pick his way through a defense and cutting back against the grain in a Tony Dorsett-like fashion to make it into the end zone. We saw this from him week 2 against Oakland.
He was
172 yards rushing that day. And boy, that was a similar run there.
And that day had a 65-yard touchdown run against the Raiders.
Well, after the conclusion of the play, personal foul, unnecessary roughness, defense, number 32. This 15-yard penalty will be assessed on the kickoff.
Take a look at it, Kevin. It's a stretch zone run play. Now watch the cutback at the second level. Look at this vision here to get back underneath the flow of traffic. And he sees it. It's all daylight there. That's part instinct, part vision, and then speed and athleticism.
Part illegal, too. You shouldn't be able to be cut like that. There's the Carpenter extra point. Miami back on top. Back and forth we go. The elusive and slippery Reggie Bush, an 18-yard touchdown run for Miami. There's so much that stands out in that 18-yard run by Reggie Bush. A terrific run. Long, the left tackle had a great block, and it began with a good block from Javorski Lane, the rookie free agent from A&M. Those 2 guys had blocked, and then Bush, the third part of that great play, another 80-yard drive by Miami, and the extra point, kickoff here goes out of the end zone, so it'll be back to the 20, and they're kicking off where they were from the 50 because of the penalty on the late hit by Vaughn. Nobody knows the game like a quarterback. Don't miss Phil Simms, Steve Berline, Rich Gannon, and special guest Boomer Esiason on NFL Monday QB. It's tomorrow, 6:30 Eastern, only on CBS Sports Network, the 24-hour home of CBS Sports. 2 80-yard drives by the Dolphins. They've scored every time they've had the ball today.
They've got balance in terms of their ability to run it, as you saw with Reggie Bush there. Andrew Luck needs to get a run game going.
First and 10. Ballard picks up the drive there from the secondary, and Jones. That's a catch made. A pass right in front of Carroll, caught by Reggie Wayne. 21-yard pickup. That's a first down. Put him at the 41.
Why run it when you can make throws like this? I don't even know why anyone bites up on the play-action fake. And Reggie Wayne comes across in the middle of the field. Remember, this Dolphins defense hasn't allowed a 100-yard rusher in 21 consecutive games coming into today.
4 in the secondary for Miami. First and 10. Ballard in pursuit. He's tackle on the wing there by 6'3.5". Sean Smith, gain of 6 on the play. They'll spot this at the 48.
Nonetheless, Bruce Arians ran it on that play. And, you know, Sean Smith told us, if we take a look at him, he said, Reggie Wayne's the guy they move around. He's going to motion. He's the Hines Ward of this offense, and it's going to be tough to get a jam. But right now, look, Sean Smith moving up to the line of scrimmage, but there's Reggie Wayne going in motion. He's got to play from off.
Now in second to short 4. This is Donnie Avery. Just out of bounds. Carroll, 8-yard catch and run. And that is a first down to the 44.
Of course, we talked to this Indianapolis Colts football team. They won 3 of their last 4. Some things have come together. They had a visit from their head coach, Chuck Pagano, earlier in the week. Very inspirational. He sat in Bruce Arians' meeting earlier in the week.
Here we go on a 1st and 10 with a little burst, and it's a carry. Vic Ballard, and the gain to the 34. Flag is down. 3.5 to play in the second quarter. Tannehill a touchdown pass. Bush a touchdown run. And Luck is on a touchdown pass to Reggie Wayne. And a player is down for Indy at about the 43, and it looks like an offensive lineman.
Illegal substitution, 12 players on the field, defense. The penalty has been declined. Result to the play, 2nd down.
I think it's the center, Satelli, who is down.
That's what it looks like.
It is, yep. Samson Satelli, and of course Miami fans know him from his days with the Dolphins. He was most recently with the Oakland Raiders, now finds a home taking the place of Jeff Saturday. This means that A.Q. Shipley out of Penn State, some practice squad time for him. He'll now check in, at least for the time being, for Indianapolis. And of course that is wrought with all kinds of issues too. It's another center, and the snap and the exchange with the quarterback pretty important.
And it takes away the continuity that the Colts were just beginning to get with their 5 starting offensive linemen. They felt this was the 5 back. We told you Joe Reed's back for Lincoln Bach, and now with Satelli going out, there is concern. We talked about their inability to run the football. They ran it very well last week against the Tennessee Titans, but they want to be able to establish some consistency, and it starts with having the same 5 starters on your offensive line to develop that chemistry.
This drive here for the Colts began back at the 20. Coming up, the Verizon halftime report. Join JB, Dan, Shannon, Boomer, and Coach Coward. Scores, news, and highlights in this week 9 of the NFL. It's all coming up on the Verizon halftime report. Big play on this drive so far has been a pass right up the middle to Wayne for 21 yards.
Of course, we should note, Kevin, that it has been reported that Chuck Pagano, the head coach of the Indianapolis Colts, is in the building. I'm sure the players are aware that he would be here today.
Olivier Vernon remains in the game. He's there at the bottom of your screen and handing it turf. First down and 10. Good play right there. Soliai, boy, I tell you, Starks and Soliai, there's a loss of 2. They're going to push Ballard back to the 37-yard line. These 2 tackles in the middle have done a great job against the run.
That's why I think they're tough to beat. This Dolphins team is no fluke. Their 4-3 record, remember, they could have won 6 consecutive games. Those 2 losses in the middle to both the Jets and Arizona occurred in overtime. That's how good this team is playing, because I think they're very good on both the offense and defensive line, where they can be really dominant.
Soliai is out. They bring in Wilson, a 5th defensive back. 2nd down and 12 for Luck, who is 14 of 18 for 210 and a touchdown pass. Here comes Rashad Jones. Boy, they've sent him a lot. They're a little wide and incomplete that time to the running back Ballard. Incomplete pass. Carroll was on the coverage. Jones are sending it like a missile.
Kevin Coyle, the defense coordinator, he sends everyone, linebackers, defensive backs. This is why you love playing in his defense. And you ask what kind of defense are they? Are they a 3-4? Are they a 4-3? They are a multiple defense. They'll give you a lot of different alignments. They'll show a lot of different people in and around the line of scrimmage and drop several guys, really making it difficult for the quarterback to read coverage.
Timeout taken by Miami. Our second quarter clock at 2:34. Joe Philbin and his Dolphins up by 7 here on CBS. Miami has scored every time they've had the ball. Luck in the offense of the Colts on the move right now. 3rd down and 12. There was a good block that time by Ballard. In the vicinity was Sean Smith. They were going for Levon Brazil. It's an incomplete pass.
Ronald Luck feels like he should have had this one. They've been very good on 3rd and 10 or longer, where they had completed 2 of the 3 3rd and 10 plays, and that one nearly intercepted. And Sean Smith really should have caught the ball. And Luck was under pressure, but he was able to get that one off, just threw it behind the intended receiver.
Well, Vinatieri had one blocked last week. This will be a 54-yard try before the game in warm-ups on this side of the field. He hit one from 58 yards. This from 54. Nope. Why? It wasn't blocked, was it? Did Vernon get a hand on the ball? He might have. Olivier Vernon, who had all those great special teams plays a week ago, may have gotten a hand on that.
They blocked a punt. They blocked a field goal last week. They had an onside kick return. Special teams has been dominant. Look at him coming over the top, number 50.
Oh,
that's
yeah.
Vernon.
You gotta believe
play.
he did. He got it. He is the AFC Special Team Player of the Week. Unbelievable against the Jets. The block punt, which was eventually returned for a touchdown. That was Vernon who got that on Wilson's block, and a blocked field goal. Here's a wonderful-looking rookie and a 3rd-round pick out of Miami.
Look at this. 2 feet up, 2 feet down, hands up for the block. That's talent.
Here's a handoff on 1st and 10. Miami with a couple of timeouts, and they try to dig something up the middle with the running back, and that is Bush. It's a gain of 2. The hit and tackle made by Moses Foku.
I can't tell you how impressed I am when I put tape on and I watch the Miami Dolphins. The offense is very efficient, very good at what they do under their head coach, Joe Philbin. Defense is very aggressive, and now with the special teams coming together, this is a complete team with the Miami Dolphins.
The 2-minute warning. Two-minute warning, 2nd down and 8. Thomas at the side of the quarterback, Tannehill. He's 9 of 12 with a touchdown pass this afternoon. Freeney moved that time. Was he drawn?
False start. Offense, number 51. 5-yard penalty remains. 2nd down.
Some of the bright young centers in the NFL, Mike Pouncey.
Watch him move the ball. See how he dropped his butt just a little bit there? That little slight movement, not so slight because it was actually pretty abrupt, and that's what pulled the defenders across the line of scrimmage.
Hey, Solomon, Robert Mathis has gone to the locker room, and Jerry Hughes, who took Mathis's place during that 3-game absence because of an injury, Hughes is now in defensively for Indy.
And I'm sure Jake Long is happy to hear that news, right?
He's got a back injury, they say. 2nd and 13 with the penalty. Good block by Long. Devon Bess. Tackle. Antoine Bethea to the 47. 8-yard catch and run. Timeouts. Miami 2. Colts have 2.
Well, the Dolphins are moving this offense. We talked about the balance, and Joe Philbin right now is dialing up some plays that has this team scoring on every possession.
Into the nickel, 3rd and 6 for Tannehill. Oh, they come from behind. The ball is loose. Was his arm moving? They're going to say it was incomplete. Who came around? It was with great force.
Freeney.
It was Dwight Freeney.
And Jake Long just let him go. He must have, they had their blocking assignments confused. Watch, he's going to let him go at the top of the screen there.
Or was it a handoff to Thomas, perhaps, the running back?
Well, I'm sure they were talking about it. He was expecting Thomas to step out and take the defensive end. And Long, you can see, step down to take Freeman.
4th down.
Huge
Looked like they may do something kind of rascally right there, but they're going to try the punt from Brandon Fields, who was lined up, it looked like, almost in a shotgun formation. But certainly from here in 4th and long, you don't want to do that. So he's going to punt this down. You can see the gyrations here of Hilton. That's a 4-yard return. It's a 44-yard punt, and they put the ball at the 13-yard line. To look at Freeney, who's been dealing with a high ankle sprain, but boy, he showed great spring on this one.
Look, right here, and then you've got to use him on the linebacker. Go ahead and show it. See, Long is going to block down when he should stay on the defensive end. You never want to put your back on the defensive end. You put the back on backer, tackles stay out on the defensive end to Dwight Freeney. I think there was some communication problems there, but if you ask me, Long has to stay out wide on Freeney.
The Dolphins punt for the first time today. Here's a 1st and 10 for Andrew Luck with 2 timeouts remaining. That's caught by Allen, who's covered on the play and tackled by Cameron Wake. The catch and run to the 24, 12-yard pickup. That is a first down. Get the latest news, analysis, and predictions from Pat Kerwin, Pete Prisco, and other CBS Sports experts. Watch Pro Football 360 live, weekdays at 3 p.m. Eastern, or on demand at cbssports.com/profootball360. So a 12-yard reception made right there. Tight end Allen, who is a rookie, and he was the John Mackey Award winner at Clemson. 1st and 10, Luck. Through his hands, incomplete. Where they were going across the middle, Hilton was in the area.
Now Luck is starting to get a little antsy in the pocket. See, he wants the ball to come out. When he hits that back foot, see, now he's ready to throw. He was wanting to go to Allen, but Burnett, had great coverage. So then it's a high throw by Luck. Wasn't able to cut that ball loose when he was ready to.
Hilton couldn't find the handle. 2nd down and 10. 5 in the secondary for the Miami Dolphins. Reggie Wayne, Wilson on the coverage, 13-yard pickup, and at the 38.
I don't know how he caught this ball in tight traffic. The ball thrown low by Luck. Of course, putting it where he knows the talented 12-year receiver can go get it, and that's exactly what Reggie Wayne did. Take a look at this throw on one hash clear to the out-of-bound line, and watch Reggie Wayne go down and dig it out. It's just a really good catch. And then he's going to be able to get out of bounds and stop the clock before he's touched. I think he could have actually gotten up and run with his ball, Kevin.
You're right. He was not.
If he gets up,
oh,
see, he's up
right
now.
there.
He's up now. Knee is off the ground, and then he dives out of bounds.
Satelli is still out the center, and they're still using A.Q. Shipley as their center. Robert Mathis, we're told, has a back injury. We're not sure if he's going to return. So on this drive, they've got the tight end Allen for 12. 12-yard pass right there to Wayne. On their 38, 1st and 10. With a single timeout now, the Colts. Wayne. Wilson is there trying to defend him. He's that 7th-round pick out of Montana. It's a catch of 12. 50-yard line, first down.
They're going to have to give Jimmy Wilson some help with Reggie Wayne. We talked about the inability to jam him at the line of scrimmage. Simply see how he stacked right there off the ball. So now you got to play from off. I think you've got to be able to run some double coverages and leverage Reggie Wayne inside and out on some of those option routes. Maybe you're able to steal one from Andrew Luck and pick it off.
6 defensive backs. R.J. Stanford is the 6th defensive back. 1st down and 10 from midfield for Luck. Costanzo blocking Vernon. Starks is chasing Luck. And then helped out of bounds by Dansby across the way. A run of 5 and out of bounds at the 45 of Miami.
You cannot sleep on Andrew Luck and his ability to make plays with his leg. We've seen him, Kevin, run for 2 touchdowns right here in a win against the Cleveland Browns. He's going to keep his vision down the field. If you drop coverage, he's going to throw it. If you turn your back to him in man-to-man coverage, he'll tuck it and run it.
So Randall is on the line for Miami, along with Olivier Vernon, Odrick, and Wake. 6 in the secondary, 2nd down and 5. Here comes Wake. There goes Luck. And he finds a receiver at the 40-yard line. Nice catch made by the receiver, Levon Brazil. It's a gain of 6. He was working on Stanford. First down.
Look, he's going to be hounded by Cameron Wake. And then he's going to be pounded into the ground by another defender just as he throws the football. But still, look at the presence of mind and then, of course, the strength to deliver that ball down the field. Here's Vernon, who had the hit on Luck.
Carroll is the one that followed him to the sideline. And a timeout has been taken with the clock at 34 seconds.
Will go under review.
The officials' timeout. Everything inside 2 minutes is triggered by the booth with a look at Andrew Luck, the 29th rated quarterback in the NFL, but he's led some nice come-from-behind wins, 3 of them, including one here against Green Bay.
You know, it's not an easy thing to, as we take a look at this catch. And both feet are inbounds to fill the void left by one Peyton Manning here in Indianapolis. You and I have been in the building, Kevin. We've seen the ease in which Andrew Luck sort of operates and ingratiates himself to his teammates, his coaching staff, and everyone in the building, and in particular everyone in the community. He's, I think, stepped into that role very well. I think both feet are inbound. I don't even know that's a conversation.
Well,
it's going to be a catch.
We know Luck has a better record at this stage of any of the 19 number one drafted quarterbacks since the 1970 merger, and he's on a pace to break every significant rookie passing record, of course, that we saw last year from Carolina Panther Cam Newton.
And I asked him, I said, how are you guys able to win? This is supposed to be sort of a rebuilding thing. He says, yeah, we've got a lot of young guys. There's no doubt. He said, but we have a collection of veterans here in Indianapolis like Freeney, like Antoine Bethea and Robert Mathis and Reggie Wayne, who've won a lot of big-time games, who've won Super Bowls, who've played in big-time playoff games, and he thinks it's a good mix between veterans like a Reggie Wayne and the young players like himself and Dwayne Allen, T.Y. Hilton, who's come in and made plays.
253 yards for Luck today.
Take a look at this play. There's 2 feet in, there's one, there's a second, there's a third.
Nice job.
Thought both feet were in. That's really good visual,
That's
by the way.
the rookie out of Ohio,
After
Brazil.
reviewing the play, the ruling on the field is confirmed. It is a completed pass.
And a first down
Play
pass
clock
at
operator,
that.
please reset the play clock to 25 seconds. 25 seconds, thank you.
It's a first down pass on top of that, so the drive is alive. The Colts with a single timeout. The ball resting at the Miami 39.
Brazil's another one of those rookies that we just talked about, mixing in with these veterans, see if Luck can make some plays here just before the end of the half.
5 defensive backs. 1st and 10. Luck going. Oh, he's got him! Hilton could not hang on to it. Followed into the end zone by Wilson in the Dolphins secondary.
Oh, Hilton did close on it. You have to give him credit. Look at the speed, separation. Blows by Sean Smith. But watch as he lunges for the ball. See, right off his hands. And it's something about being able to take that one extra step as opposed to diving for it. But nonetheless, you've got to make that catch. What a throw from Andrew Luck. Wow.
Smith had him initially. Wilson follows him in. Still 5 defensive backs. 2nd down and 10. Here comes Wake. Here comes Odrick. Incomplete. Great pressure put on Luck that time by Miami. Looking for the running back, Ballard. Flag is down. It's against the Colts, so they're conferring with Joe Philbin.
Holding, offense number 69, 10-yard penalty, repeat, 2nd down.
Right tackle, Winston Justice.
We told you that the Colts were struggling to run the football. We told you no one has had 100 yards rushing in 21 consecutive games against this Miami Dolphins defense. So now it's all on the shoulders of Andrew Luck. So far here in the half, he's got 253 yards passing, Kevin. And I think had, of course, the receiver caught that ball, he'd be close to 300.
2nd down, 20. They need the 29. Pressure again. Ballard juggling and cannot reel it in. 3rd and 20. And on this drive, they've gotten Allen a pass of 12 and gains of 12 and 13 through the air and catches by Wayne.
Yeah, and a couple of drops by other players because he's moving around in the pocket. He's buying extra time. Remember, they are essentially one-dimensional at this point in the ball game, so defenders are just pouring in, trying to get pressure on Andrew Luck, and so the receivers have to pay it off by making a catch on the ball.
Now back to the 6th defensive back, coming in R.J. Stanford. For the Dolphins, 3rd down and 29, play the drive, and again they need the 29 of Miami. Luck, right on the screws. 1st down catch and a great curl. That was grabbed by Hilton. 20-yard pickup. And there was a lot of congestion in the area.
Yeah, they're going to call timeout. This is a nice throw, nice catch. Andrew Luck is just dealing. They're not getting pressure on Luck. When they do, he's able to move and avoid the pressure and still maintain the throwing position where he can deliver the ball with great accuracy down the football field. He's going to have some big numbers if they can't get to him, Kevin.
Stanford and Jones were there with the coverage for Miami. So he's gotten him into field goal range. 12 seconds remain.
Career high 273 yards.
Vinatieri has missed
first half.
Vinatieri has missed 6 field goals this season. That's the most of any kicker so far in the NFL.
This is Mr. Clutch.
I know it is.
He's the nephew of Evel Knievel. Are you kidding me? That just doesn't happen.
Evel Knievel. This isn't the Snake River. 47-yard field goal try, and they're going to call a timeout. Miami is down to 1.
They want him to go for it. With 12 seconds, they're thinking, you can take a shot, can't you? That's what they're thinking. 12 seconds, I think, is enough to take a shot, but that's very close because you're talking about leaving points on the board. And with already a couple of missed field goals or 1 missed field goal and 1 block, I think you've got to try to put some points on the board here.
Now the Colts over 500 for the first time since 2010. 4-3 coming in. 2 consecutive wins. 3 of their last 4. Here is Adam Vinatieri with a 47-yard field goal try. Last one was blocked by Olivier Vernon.
You see his numbers from 40 yards or inside 40, where he struggled this year.
And this one will put 3 on the board for the Colts, who now go to a 17-13 deficit against Miami. Dolphins on top in 7 seconds to play with quarterback Andrew Luck throwing to Wayne on 12 and 13-yard receptions. He got Hilton for 20 and he got Allen for 12. Here we go. College football beginning next Saturday. Arkansas will take on Steve Spurrier's Gamecocks at 12 noon Eastern. And then Texas A&M at Alabama. 3:30 Eastern time, all beginning with college football today. How about that? What a great win for Alabama last night down in Baton Rouge.
That game is always worth the price of admission. Of course, Tannehill, he was taking a look at his Texas A&M Aggies yesterday when we met with him. I'm impressed with the way Tannehill was played, particularly when you consider that he only took half the snaps in practice, sharing those reps with Matt Moore. The fact that he's less than 100% with that injury on the left knee.
Big Ben is deep back, as is DeAndre Preston, who catches the ball and falls to a knee, and you see the time remaining in the first half. And we'll see how Tannehill handles this. Now, we came into the game, and the big headline, of course, was his bad left knee, which you heard last week. He's got a brace and a very heavy one at that on that left knee. Limited snaps in practice this week. He appears to be pretty nimble.
Yeah, and he told us, he said he wore a brace on his left knee in his final 6 games at Texas A&M. So he's used to wearing this kind of device on the left knee and still playing at a high level. I think he's proven that in the first half of this ball game.
They'll go to a knee, and that will do the first half. 3 consecutive wins for the Dolphins. And Joe Philbin takes his team to the locker room with a 17-13 lead. This is the NFL on CBS. A glimpse into the future with Miami and Ryan Tannehill in Indianapolis and Andrew Luck. First quarterback chosen, the third quarterback chosen. Boy, are they putting on a first half show.
Both guys, Andrew Luck, Ryan Tannehill, we thought this would be the much anticipated battle between the 2 rookie quarterbacks. They have not disappointed us. I love what I'm getting from Andrew Luck, his overall athleticism, the high football IQ, delivering the ball with great accuracy. But Tannehill has responded despite only getting half the reps in practice during the week. The injured left knee has not failed him at all. He's come out and he's gotten his team into the end zone, but he's had some help from Reggie Bush and company with that 18-yard touchdown run. It was spectacular.
Reggie Wayne was terrific in the first half for the Colts. And through 30 minutes of football, you take a look at some of our numbers and the field goal misses right there for Indy.
You take a look at the big plays in this game, and all coming by the pass in terms of plays of 20 yards or more for Andrew Luck at the Indianapolis Colts. But Tannehill was putting up some plays. He's throwing it. Reggie Bush is running it. You have a balanced offense by, of course, the Miami Dolphins. Tannehill's also going to need some help from his defense. We know that the Colts are one-dimensional, struggling to run the football, so it's all on the shoulders of Andrew Luck. 273 yards passing so far in the first half of the ball game. It could have gotten close to 300 yards passing had T.Y. Hilton not dropped a potential touchdown pass.
Here we go. Thigpen will field this one, go to a knee. He was in the Canadian Football League after not making it in the NFL and a career at Indiana. To the 20-yard line for Miami, and quarterback Ryan Tannehill, first down and 10 yards to go. Some of the fun plays in the first half.
Yeah, we told you that Tannehill got off to a good start, getting the ball down the field, touchdown pass to Charles Clay, and then how about Reggie Bush, the 18-yard ankle-breaking run into the end zone where he put on moves haven't seen since Kevin Harlan was on the dance floor.
See, you should have said Fred Astaire. Here's a fake handoff to Bush on 1st and 10 hard line. Right in front of the defensive back in front of him, Gerard Powers. A quick pickup of 8, and they'll put him at the 28-yard line.
Brian Hartline helped his quarterback Tannehill get off to a good start. Had 4 catches in the first half of this ball game.
Yeah, for 13 yards, Solomon. He had another reception for 35 yards. He's reliable, isn't he? Hartline is.
Look at this team. They've been able to score the first possession in the second half. 3 consecutive games.
Bush on 1st and 10 in Moala. Wraps him up after a gain of 3, but a first down run to the 31.
They come off and get off to a good start. I think it starts with the play calling of Joe Philbin, the head coach. He's the guy's calling up the play in the ear of Ryan Tannehill.
Attention to detail. Every time I talk to him, or whether it be at Green Bay or here in Miami, attention to detail.
He is the CEO of efficiency. He really is.
Couple tight ends, 1st and 10. Bush blocked by Clay. Tackle made by Corey Redding after a gain of 4 with the ball going to the 35.
Now we talk about the first half possessions by the Miami Dolphins. Look, on the first 3, they were able to score. Then they had the punt. And then, of course, the end of the half. And we talk about getting off to great efficiency. Remember, Coach Philbin scripts his first 12 to 15 offensive plays. So you can see it's been working for him. It's certainly been working for him in the second half on that first possession.
Thomas in the backfield, 2nd and 6. Long had to take somebody down. But I don't see yellow on the field. I see no flag as the rush was coming, and it was provided by Antonio Johnson.
Justin Hickman also. Hickman, look at 55 at the top of your screen, Kevin, working on Long. Watch how he's able to grab Tannehill. See, he's got him. He's trying to pull Tannehill down. Tannehill's trying to get rid of the ball so he doesn't take a sack on the play.
Wow. The secondary has 5, and that's what Tannehill surveys on 3rd down and 6. Got the block there, overshooting the receiver. And it looked like it was intended for Jabbar Gaffney. He caught a pass last week and then dropped a long pass last week. Miami's got a punt.
Well, watch how they pinch the pocket around Tannehill. He does get a little antsy. See, you got pressure here, you got pressure there. See, he's patting the ball. He can feel the pressure around his legs and the push of the pocket in his face. That's what forced that ball to sail high on the throw. I think if you're Tannehill, when you can't throw the ball on rhythm, you're not going to take off and run. All quarterbacks tend to get a little bit antsy in the pocket.
Here's Brandon Fields to punt, and he averaged 53 yards last week against the Jets. Hilton is back from the 6. Leaving, down he goes. Amaya was there along with Jonathan Freeney. 14-yard return, 59-yard punt. Here comes the sharpshooter, Andrew Luck. After the 5 and punt by Miami's offense on their first second half possession, here comes Luck 1st and 10 from his 20. Juan Carter is in the backfield with the tight end. Carter offers a block. Time for Luck and incomplete. Looking for Wayne with the coverage by Rashad Jones.
You know, Kevin, before the game, we told you that if he gets out of the pocket, he's going to beat you. If he plays from the pocket, he can beat you. But look at the mobility and just a slight movement to buy more time to help receivers uncover, still maintain vision down the field, throwing the ball with great accuracy. That's what he does as well as any young quarterback I've ever seen. And even Bruce Arians said that he kind of reminds him of Ben Roethlisberger in that sense. He can extend plays with his legs to create plays to go off script.
2nd and 10, Olivier Vernon and Wilson are in defensively for Miami. And here comes Carter weaving his way Odrick can't get him. Vernon finally brings him down with Carroll. 9-yard run. A good-looking one, too, to the 29-yard line. Carter is out of Syracuse.
Well, maybe DeLone Carter can give his head coach, Bruce Arians, these kind of plays. Because Bruce Arians told me as the play caller, I need the run game. We need the run game to create play-action pass opportunities so that Andrew Luck can take shots down the field. He said, we'll take shots, but we've got to be able to run the ball because we can't block them long enough to get receivers down the field far enough on deep pass plays if we can't run the football.
How about the Colts today on third down? 6 of 9. Last week, 6 of 12 against the Jets.
And very good. 3 of 4 on 3rd and 10 or longer. That's money.
Timeout. Beautiful Monument Circle here in downtown Indianapolis. They've held Super Bowl 46 here last year. 3rd down and 1 after the timeout by Indy. And quarterback Andrew Luck.
No one's covering Reggie Wayne in the slot. Too much room to work right there.
Messi back in, so they've only got 4 in the secondary. Luck and caught. Carroll is holding on for dear life as Donnie Avery grabs it, picks up 14, takes it up to the 42.
If they don't get pressure on Andrew Luck, he's going to do this all day, Kevin. The defenders for the Miami Dolphins, look, they're giving way too much room, I think, for the Colts wide receivers to operate. They're not covering up the slot receiver where Reggie Wayne is lining up. He's got a lot of room to work with. And if you don't get pressure on Andrew Luck, he's going to pick you apart. They've got to do more of crowding the receivers at the line of scrimmage and then pressuring the quarterback in the backfield.
The injured Satelli is still out of the game, so Shipley continues to snap the ball to Luck. 1st and 10 from the 43. Moves up nicely. Looking for Ballard, who's in some hand-to-hand combat with defensive back Nolan Carroll. Incomplete. If the season ended today, and this would probably surprise a lot of people halfway through the season.
Yeah. The 5th and 6th seed are the 2, 4, and 3 teams, Miami Dolphins and Indianapolis Colts. That would have surprised a lot of people coming into the season. I visited the Dolphins during their minicamp and visited with Joe Philbin. I thought they would be the 2nd best team in the AFC East then, and we can see that holds true today.
Wilson back in, 5 DBs, 2nd down and 10. Wow. They're trying to air it out. Into the hands of Brazil. The coverage on the play by Sean Smith.
Oh, Smith was lucky on that one. He thought it was going to be a back shoulder fade. Watch the way he turns on this one. He doesn't turn over the top. He turns underneath. That means he thinks it's going to be back shoulder fade. See, he could not find the football. And if these receivers just decide they want to start catching the ball outside of Reggie Wayne, Andrew Luck's going to have even bigger numbers than he already has.
Well, here they come now, 3rd down and 10, and for that kind of a situation or longer today, they're 3 of 5, converting 3rd and 12, 14 and 20. Here's a 3rd and 10 for Luck. Quick slant caught, nice play, Avery, slippery and flying to the side. Caught up 2 by Clemens. Catch and run of 22 on 3rd and 10. And that is a 1st down to the 36.
This Miami Dolphins defense, they came in 3rd best team in terms of 3rd down defense on 3rd and 10 or longer. You can see Luck is picking them apart. Again, too much room to work with. Avery slips the tackle of Nolan Carroll, then able to create yards after the catch by converting the 3rd down into a 1st down.
Luck, 309 yards receiving on this drive. Avery with catches of 14 and 22 yards. 1st and 10. Ron Carter. Outside, Vernon had a hand on him, and then he is knocked out of bounds by Nolan Carroll. No gain on the play as we gain James from New York.
Cincy narrows the gap.
That's right, Andy Dalton, after a Peyton Manning interception, comes back, hits A.J. Green, 10 yards. Bengals inch closer, 17-10, 17-13 Broncos over the Bengals.
Cincy trying to snap a 3 straight loss streak there. Back to Kevin and Solomon.
Don't you love all these young quarterbacks in the NFL? Dalton in Cincinnati and the kids we see here this afternoon.
A great group of young quarterbacks. That means our league is alive and well. We've got really talented players at the quarterback position.
2nd down and 10. Look out! Knocked away. Wake is the one to get it. They're crawling for the ball. It's loose and picked up on the play by Allen, the tight end. At midfield, it's a sack back to the 50. I think it was Cameron Wake, who came in with the tomahawk chop and sliced the ball away.
Came in, he went over the top, came around the backside, was able to get the ball loose. Now take a look at this. He's going to come in from the backside, right there. Whack, chop away, and then reach the left guard. Look, he's crawling, he's scrambling. The big guy can't get there, Kev. He can't close. Luckily for him, Allen was able to get to it. There you see, that is a fumble. The empty hand coming forward, meaning ball was out before you attempted to throw the football. 5 straight games with a sack for Cameron Wake.
Gosh, I love super slow-mo. 3rd down and 25. 6 in the secondary. Luck. Long. Almost picked off by Carroll. They were looking for Avery. It's incomplete. It's 4th down. Avery, as you see, is down. Took a shot from Carroll. And there is a Dolphin down as well.
Yeah, they collided, Carroll as well as Avery. I don't know if they were injured when they look at the collision midair, but then they come down very hard. Here's real speed. Look at it.
Cameron Wake's sack, which is his 8th. And Carroll is down here. See Nolan Carroll getting up, and Carroll taking the place of the injured Richard Marshall. Wake's sack pushes India out of field goal range. They got a punt when we come back. Good sign Avery on the right is up after getting whacked hard by Carroll, who's on the left, and it's a good sign that he is up and being looked at on the sideline. Here is the punt. McAfee. Deep back is Bess. About the 10, fair caught. And 40-yard punt. We mentioned before Luck had 309 yards passing, not receiving. My apologies. Well, folks, help victims of disasters like Superstorm Sandy. Text Red Cross to 90999 to make a $10 donation to the American Red Cross Disaster Relief Fund. CBS and all of us certainly care.
All right, Kevin, now Ryan Tannehill, as we take a look at Andrew Luck, and this Dolphins offense has to get it going. They haven't done anything since maybe early portion of the second quarter. He's got to get back to playing fast, making quick decisions, trust what he's seeing, and then live with it. Get this offense going for the Dolphins.
Bush from the backfield on 1st down and 10. Reggie. Saw some blocking there, but just not a whole lot there. Freeman, among others, there to stop him in his tracks. No gain. 2nd down and 10.
We talk about this offense needing to get going. You know, Joe Philbin, he values execution over scheme. He said it's not about emotion. It's not about any of those other things. It's the player's job to make the plays come alive. I love the way he uses words to illustrate and teach players of what's expected of them.
2nd down and 10. Bush with the block. Tannehill, bad wheel and all. Hartline to the 21. Hit by Pat Angerer. That is a pickup of 11 and a 1st down.
If there are 2 players who are in sync in terms of making the plays come alive, I think it's Tannehill and I think it's Brian Hartline. Look at Hartline come back in between the defenders. You've got 2 big linebackers dropping back in covers. They have no clue of how to operate in space, and Hartline takes advantage of it.
1st and 10, Reggie Bush. Long leading the way. Oh, and here comes the cavalry. Knocking him out of bounds. Flag is down. Justin Hickman was over there. Gain of a cut, about 2 or 3 on the play by Reggie Bush, who has an 18-yard touchdown run this afternoon. And it was a beauty. Bush today 9 carries and 32 yards.
Holding, offense, number 80. 10-yard penalty, repeat, 1st down.
Well, it's Fasano who is run blocking. He was dominant with his run blocking last week against the Jets.
Take a look at Justin Hickman. Look how he runs this play clear down to the other side, Kevin. This is playing defense. He's not my man to get. Yeah, it is over on the other side, but that's just speed, athleticism, tracking the ball carrier in terms of effort and hustle to make a play.
Thomas in the backfield, 1st and 29. 5 defensive backs. Tannehill was drilled. Boy, was he hit hard. They came up the middle, and Fili Mawala right there to knock him down.
Fili Mawala, how about that? Right in the chops of Tannehill. Who said quarterbacks don't have to be tough? Who said that you can't still hit people? in the National Football League. They're trying to keep us clean. They're trying to keep us safe, and there is an emphasis on safety, but you can still get after people playing football in the NFL.
2nd and 20 with Bush at the side of Tannehill. Bush. Blocked ahead, thrown by Jerry. He slips out of the grasp of Powers and works his way as Foku is over there. That's a catch run of 6 yards by Bush.
Oh, Reggie Bush can make you miss in a phone booth, Kevin. you can be right there on him and still can't touch him. Well, look at that. He gets rid of Gerard Powers, and it only takes the second, maybe third defender to get him out of bounds. Big time 3rd down play coming up, 3rd and 14. Your Tannehill, don't get careless with the football. Sometimes you might press, try to do too much, and risk turning it over.
3rd and 14, they need the 31. Best dancing incognito, trying to get a block across the way. Boy, they look at the scrambling defense. Nevis among a couple over there. Gain of 5 shy of the 1st down, and Miami's going to have to punt the ball.
Well, Best was able to make the first guy miss, but it is the second guy. It's just hit, hustle, and swarm on defense for the Colts. They're getting to the football. Look after allowing Bush to have that 18-yard scamper earlier, someone's gotten into their ear and saying, hey, we got to get more guys to the football making tackles.
6 plays punt. Fields will punt. Deep back is Hilton. They came through there. Harvey just about got a hand on it. 54. Here's the retrieval now, and it's taken by Hilton. Grabbed. And cannot get away. Nice defensive play on the special teams by reserve receiver Marlon Moore. Loss of a yard, 58-yard punt. Here comes Luck. 17-13 down. Cameron Wake is going to take a breather, at least on this 1st down play. Shelby is in on the defensive line. There's a 1st and 10 after the 6 and punt by Miami. On the 18 for Luck. Ballard. Brought down on the play by Clemens. Gain of 4 to the 22 tonight on 60 Minutes. He's an MVP quarterback who still keeps his scholarship rejection letters at home. What makes Aaron Rodgers tick? Find out only on 60 Minutes tonight. It's only on CBS, and Soliai is down.
It's Soliai's head coach, Joe Philbin, that helped put Phillip Rivers, or excuse me, should say Aaron Rodgers, as you were talking about, for 60 minutes. Help get him going, but Soliai's trying to shake it off.
Tannehill today throwing 14 of 21 for 190 and a touchdown pass. Luck through the air, 309, a touchdown pass, 21 of 34. The rookie quarterback's putting on a display. He was the number 8 pick. He was the number 1 pick. But Tannehill was the 3rd quarterback chosen on the play on the draft back in April. And Tannehill had the bad knee. There's Matt Moore, by the way, who took over last week and was terrific. Part of that win. Moore has been the perfect teammate. You know, he was the MVP of the team a season ago.
Look, they're
having a little conversation with Joe Philbin.
And Philbin gets him to laugh.
Yeah.
He comes in our meetings. He's such a good teacher. He's kind of Tom Landry-like, his Coach Philbin, as we take a look at Matt Moore. But Matt is in a contract year. He's embraced this role, though, as the veteran quarterback, helping the rookie quarterback learn his trade.
Luck with a 2nd down and 6. Odrick is on the pursuit. Here's the pass. And looking for Wesley Saunders, the ex-Pittsburgh Steeler, who was signed back in mid-October by this team.
Koamisi matched up against Saunders. Saunders had him, by the way. I think Luck overthrows this one by a hair. I did believe that Saunders, if he takes another step, see, he puts the hands out maybe a little too soon there, and all you got to do is keep running. You may run underneath it, but Saunders is a big guy who can roll. He did have a step on the defender, and Luck is expected to complete the pass.
Dolphins have gone to the nickel. Olivier Vernon has come in. Here is a 3rd and 6 for Luck. Wake is in. Justice handles in. And the catch by Ballard. Run out of bounds, chased on the play. Burnett was there, 15-yard catch and run. That's a first down for Indianapolis.
I still believe Luck, to be a rookie, look at his movement in the pocket. Look at his presence. See the head? That means he's going through his rotations while moving in the pocket, while feeling the pressure, and still keeping his eyes down the field to go to his check down. And look at this. He's just moving around. Ballard, he's going to find him eventually, and Ballard was maybe the third or fourth in the progression.
Number 37, first and 10. Ballard, Mississippi State, is a rookie in the pile, and avalanche of defenders right there. You see Burnett at the bottom of that pile. 4-yard gain to the 41.
Second rookie in NFL history with 4 300-yard passing game to tie guess who? Peyton Manning. He's chasing Peyton Manning. He will be for the rest of his career, but he's comfortable with that. He attended the Peyton Manning Passing Academy, knows Peyton very well. Their parents, their fathers know one another very well, so he's suited to be able to put up these kind of numbers and follow Peyton Manning here in Indianapolis.
That's where he met Tannehill.
Absolutely.
He came for second down and 6. Almost picked off on the play by Carlos Dansby.
He read it. He read the mail of Andrew Luck. We talked about them needing to maybe double some of these slot receivers on the option routes. And watch 58, watch him break right in front of the intended receiver, Dwayne Allen. And nearly had that. When you get an opportunity to steal this one, you better come away with it. That could have been a pick 6. Points on the board for Miami.
Nickel for Miami's defense. Third down and 6 for Luck, and they've been great on third downs today. 9 of 13 after going 6 and 12 as we mentioned before last week at Tennessee. Luck. Ballard. Ooh, big time hit on the play. Smith was there. Rashad Jones was there to the 46 and a 14-yard pickup.
They're going to say this was a pick. They're going to say Dwayne Allen picked Carlos Dansby in coverage.
Pass interference. Offense, number 83.
Good call.
10-yard penalty. Repeat, third down.
That's those crossing routes. Arian saying, hey, we kind of been doing that all year. That wasn't a pick. He didn't extend his hands. That's what he's saying, but the officials are going to see it otherwise.
You know where picks were getting away from the officials was back when the replacement officials were watching the NFL in the first month.
Watch this. 80, right there. See, watch that. See, you can see Dansby trying to follow in coverage. And they felt that Allen wasn't necessarily running a route as much as he was throwing a block to free up the intended receiver.
There were tons of picks when those replacements were here. 3rd and 16. Grabbed by Brazil. Has the first down. Tackled by Wilson. Coverage on the play by Clemens. First down, Colts. Let's go to New York and James.
Terrence Newman has Peyton Manning's number.
You know, Kevin Solomon used to be a great blitzer from the secondary. Here comes 2 guys off the end. Pesky defensive backs, those guys. Forces Peyton Manning into his 2nd interception. Ben Jarvis, Green Ellis scores on a 1-yard touchdown. Bengals take the lead, 2017.
Kevin and Solid.
Oh, how about that? My former teammate Boomer Esiason. You remember Dick LeBeau drawing up those cornerback blitzes?
Here's Carter on 1st and 10. Some of the secondary. Carroll had a swipe at him, and he was eventually brought down by Clemens. 9-yard pickup on the play. Put him at the 41 of Miami.
How about that? Bruce Arians dialing up more run plays, allowing Carter to get to the 2nd level of the defense. Look at that run right there. And so when they start to run it a little bit, Kevin, now watch for Arians coming back with a play-action pass to take a shot deep down the field. If they can crank out passing yards, usually 2nd and 1 at the plus 40-yard line, that's a recipe for let's go deep.
Extra offensive lineman has just come in. Bradley Soul. He's a rookie. He's number 60. Here's a 2nd and 1. He's on the right side, but the handoff goes over the guard, and it is a first down plunge by Carter, picking up 5 on the play. Brought down by Tresnick.
And Arians going away from the tendencies. He's going to stick with the running game. Carter's kind of giving him something here. Remember, this Colts offense, 171 rushing yards last week against the Tennessee Titans. Now they're starting to heat it up here in the second half of today's game.
Miami is the only team in the NFL to have allowed 14 points or less in their last 3 games. Holding on to it right now. 9th play of the drive. First down and 10 from the 36 of the Fins. Going deep and he caught the ball! Double teamed! Hilton wins the joust. A 36-yard touchdown pass. T.Y. Hilton.
This pass should have been intercepted, Kevin, by the backside quarterback, Sean Smith. Now watch as they go deep here. He should come right over the top and intercept the Sean Smith backside, because Reggie Wayne's going to run a deep post. Look at that. Now you roll over the top, intercept it right there. He loses track of the ball, allowing for a touchdown reception. Sean Smith knows he should have intercepted that one, as he allowed Reggie Wayne to go on that deep middle crossing. It's his job to peel over the top of the post route.
Here's the extra point by Vinatieri. Key on that drive. Luck with a 19-yard pass to Brazil on 3rd and 16. Kept the drive alive. And how about this one? Double teamed. No problem for Hilton. A 36-yard pass to the end zone for Luck. 24-39 the passing today. The numbers at 379 for this guy right here, Luck, and the record 432.
He is 11 of 13 on 1st and 10 or longer, Kevin. I just don't know how you maintain that kind of efficiency on 3rd and 10 or longer.
Big Ben brings it out. LaFage brings him down. 27-yard return to the 20-yard line. Flag was thrown on the play.
Personal foul, low block, number 35 on the kicking team. 15-yard penalty will be added to the end of the play.
Wow,
first down.
huge. That was LaFage who made the tackle.
Wow, that is huge.
All right, Wednesday in primetime, JB, Phil Simms, and Chris Collinsworth showcase America's favorite game with their own unique style. It's Inside the NFL, Wednesday on Showtime. T.Y. Hilton with that touchdown reception. The T.Y. after his dad. His dad's name is Tyrone.
Now, I got to tell you, if you're the Miami Dolphins, you're the ones who...
First down and 10. Thomas. Trey trying to lead the way. Gain of 3 as they fall on him across the way. And Nevis is getting up slowly, number 94, with the tackle.
I want to go back to the touchdown pass by Andrew Luck. Well executed on his part. Well executed by T.Y. Hilton. But defensive coordinator for the Miami Dolphins, Kevin Coyle, he is telling his defense we had the perfect call on. They believe the pass should have been intercepted by Sean Smith. And right now, this Miami Dolphin defense, who has been so good on 3rd down, the best in the NFL, is getting shredded by the rookie quarterback, Andrew Luck.
That is Mike Pouncey who is down.
There's Sean Smith. He knows he should have peeled right over the top. See the guy right there coaching him up, Kevin? Remember former Green Bay Packer cornerback Al Harris? Came over with Joe Philbin, teaching the cornerbacks, guys, we were in position. We just got to make a play on the ball. Sean Smith lost sight of the football. He never saw it, didn't play the ball well in the air. He knows he could have had himself an easy interception on that play.
New center is Samuda. Josh Samuda. Rookie free agent from UMass. 2nd and 7. So both centers, starting centers, have been lost. Fake to Thomas. Hartline. What a security blanket. Powers was on him. The gain to the 47. 15-yard pickup, first down, Miami.
We've seen him do this before, Kevin. Just a reverse bootleg. Tannehill to get out on the edge of the defense, and then the comeback to Hartline in front of Powers. They work an excellent tandem, does Brian Hartline and the rookie quarterback Tannehill. I think Hartline's done a wonderful job helping the rookie quarterback.
You just saw 7 catches for 100. 1st and 10. Thomas trying to bulldoze his way. Redding grabs him. And the gain to the 42. 6-yard pickup.
So how about this? Joe Philbin, he expects his young quarterback to go out and win ball games. Can Tannehill win on the road? Coming from behind. We've seen Andrew Luck, first overall pick in this draft, light it up. Can Tannehill be his equal?
So Luck has 2 touchdown passes. Tannehill has 1. Bush has an 18-yard touchdown run. Youth has been served in Indy today. That concludes the third quarter. It's a beauty. 2 teams that if the season ended right now would be in the playoffs of the AFC as wild cards. The game is living up to its hype. At the end of 3, Colts by 3. Miami has won 3 straight. Colts have won 3 of 4 and 2 in a row. Pouncey is back in at center. 2nd and 5 beginning the 4th. 205 yards passing for Tannehill. Knocked away beautifully by the linebacker, Cavell Connor. They were going for Fasano. And the passing yards for Luck, Solomon, 379. The 2 rookie quarterbacks impressive.
Well, he's doing a really good job of getting the ball out quick, putting the ball in position where his guys can catch it. He's not taking sacks in this ball game. You love the way he's moving around in the pocket, but can he make plays on money down, which is 3rd down, and in the 4th quarter?
Colts 5 defensive backs, 3rd and 5. Play clock at 9. Devon Bess, Zibikowski tries to get him and then brought down by Cassius Vaughn. That is a 1st down throw, a nice play by a great 3rd down receiver. Bess picks up 13, spot him at the 29.
And we ask, could Tannehill make the play on money down? That was a 3rd down play. They convert it into a 1st down as he flips it over to Devon Bess. He eludes Zibikowski to get that 1st down, but right now the game is in the hands of Tannehill as he's got his offense on the move.
5 catches on 3rd down. 1st and 10 from the 29. Tannehill. Oh, what a catch. Reeled in by Bess. That's a beauty to the 13-yard line. A 16-yard lasso and a 1st down.
They're blitzing the quarterback. Look, they're coming. He stares down the barrel, stands in a tight pocket, and delivers perfectly where his guy can go get it. I love ball placement by Tannehill. That's what he told us, being a former wide receiver. I understand leverage that defensive backs have on wide receivers. I understand ball placement of where they expect the ball to come based on where coverage is provided. And I think that was a perfect illustration of Tannehill anticipating the throw and executing the throw.
So Moore is in, 1st and 10. Thomas in the backfield. Out by Thomas, looking for Lane. Incomplete in the coverage on the play by Antoine Bethea, the Pro Bowler.
Now as we move to 2nd down, talk about the Dolphins inside the red zone. You know, we haven't seen much from Reggie Bush. Daniel Thomas remains in the game. We said that when Thomas is in, all those runs want to be on the inside. This is clearly one of those opportunities where Philbin may want to throw the ball down inside the red zone as opposed to run it, unless the defensive numbers gives them something different.
Let's watch Gaffney here, bottom of your screen, 2nd and 10. Tannehill. Gaffney. Well, they had some kind of coverage by Jerry Hughes. Cassius Vaughn was the guy who was going to take him deep. The linebacker had him early. Drop ball, 3rd and 10.
Yeah, just a quick out. Right side of your screen over to Jabbar Gaffney, and he drops it. Doesn't hold on to it. Had a chance to get him down inside the 10-yard line. Now we're looking at a 3rd down play, 3rd and 10 for Tannehill.
Thomas got caught up. Looked like his cleats got caught up in the turf. It's incomplete. They'll have to set up for a 3-point try and try to tie the game.
But Jerry Hughes is going to rush the throw here. See pressure immediately. And that's why Tannehill says, hey, we got to go ahead and abort and throw it early. That play wasn't allowed to develop in terms of the timing simply because the pass rush poured in on Ryan Tannehill.
31-yard try now by Dan Carpenter. Just to tie the game. And that's where we stand. We're just into the 4th quarter. Devon Bess with big catches of 13 and 16, setting up the 31-yard field goal. Tannehill now is thrown for 234 through the air. Luck is thrown for 379. And here is the ensuing kickoff, and Zibikowski will bring it out for the Indy Colts. Flag is down. Tresnick from behind along with Olivier Vernon bringing him down. As he takes the ball out.
Unsportsmanlike conduct, illegal wedge formation, receiving team.
Oh.
This penalty assessed half the distance to the goal. First down.
Well, you don't see that called very often, do you?
You can't have three guys forming in close proximity to create a wedge. It's deemed to be unsafe because then you have to have a wedge buster. And we've seen a lot of violent collisions when you have that kind of alignment.
So Andrew Luck, who's thrown touchdown passes today of 9 and 36 yards, assembles his team.
There it is right there. See, that's four guys there. That's creating a wedge. That's what the league doesn't want. We just saw there was a Dolphin guy trying to penetrate that wedge. There's actually four. Bruce Arians looks like he wants a better explanation as to who are the players who constituted the illegal wedge.
He's going to change it right tackle for the Colts. Bradley Soul, who is in now, taking the place of Justice. Worst beginning field position for Luck from his 6, 1st and 10. Hughes is back there with Carter. Here comes Wake. There goes Luck. Allen falling into the grips of the defensive back, Nolan Carroll. It's a loss of a yard. And in honor of Veterans Day, for every point scored during the NFL's 32 Salute to Service games, the league will donate $100 to each of its nonprofit partners, the Pat Tillman Foundation, the USO, and the Wounded Warriors Project. To join the Salute and learn more, NFL.com/salute. State's putting on marvelous halftime performances today. 2nd down and 11. Carter, Patrick slowed him down. Burnett finishes him off. Nice defense by Miami. No gain on the play. The ball remains at the 4.
And now the Dolphins force a 3rd and long play. This is where Luck has been very good at converting against the Dolphins defense in 3rd and 10 or longer. What he can't do, Kevin, here is try to force the ball in to Reggie Wayne, his primary receiver. Wayne had 6 catches in the first half. He's been shut out in the second half. That's what the Dolphins have had bracket coverage on him, so they don't want to get caught forcing the ball into Wayne against double coverage.
Wilson, the 5th defensive back. Ballard is back there, 3rd and 11. The tight end Allen gets by Smith. Rumbles into the secondary, hit by Clemens, brought down by Dansby. 20-yard gain on 3rd and 11. The Colts have a 1st down to the 25.
We talk about situational football. It's for defensive players too. Sean Smith, you've got to come up and make this tackle. You can't whiff in that situation. This is your chance to get off the field. You're going to get good field position. He whiffs. Totally misses the tackle on Allen. Give Allen the credit for being able to break the tackle and pick up a 1st down.
Dolphins back to the base. 1st down and 10 yards to go for the 25. Allen trying to give a block. Dansby got a hand on the running back Ballard, who picks up 3 to the 28.
We talked about how good this Dolphins defense is. Tackling has been one of the things they've done very well. That's why you haven't had a 100-yard rusher in 21 consecutive games. We talked about the linebackers of Dansby, Koamisi, Kevin Burnett, and Cameron Wake. Very good tacklers in this front 7. Now they've got to do a better job of tackling and making plays on the back end in the secondary.
Looking into the nickel, 2nd down and 7. Quick slant, Allen around Dansby, tripped up by Clemens. Works his way to the logo at midfield. A beautiful catch and run of 20 yards. And the second 20-yard catch and run on this drive for him.
This Dwayne Allen's caught my eye. He's working against Carlos Dansby in coverage. He's making plays. I think it was Kevin Burnett who came in and said 83 is better than 80. And look how quickly Andrew Luck gets the ball out. Kobe Fleener out, the rookie tight end from Stanford that played with Luck collegiately. And Dwayne Allen is picked up big time catching the ball and running with it.
418 passing yards right now for Luck. 1st and 10, going deep. Looking for Brazil, who got kind of caught up as he was working against Nolan Carroll. That is an incomplete pass.
Carroll can't find the ball. I think if these defenders in the secondary for the Dolphins do a better job of just locating the ball in the air, they're going to come away with some plays. Carroll lost sight of the ball. He wasn't able to make a play on it. We already showed you earlier on the touchdown pass to T.Y. Hilton. Sean Smith could not find the ball thrown by Andrew Luck in air, or he would have had an interception. That's 400 yards passing. Andrew Luck needs 15 to break the single game record as a Colts quarterback, or excuse me, for a rookie quarterback.
5 defensive backs, 2nd down and 10. Here comes Luck, doing what he does so well. Great runner with the ball. Hilton makes the grab. Smith is over there defending. To the Miami 45, a gain of 8.
And right now, this Dolphins defense, I don't think they have an answer for Andrew Luck. His ability to extend the plays, as we said before, is something he did in the first half. He's continued to do it. They even told us, Kevin, they were going to contain him in the pocket. They have not contained him at all today.
But I don't know who has. I mean, few teams have had.
Well, he's that good.
Yeah.
To me, if your best strategy is, hey, keep him in the pocket, well, he's a pocket passer as well. He's going to pick you apart there.
3rd down and 3. Oh, they got around Soul. There's a weak hit and a catch made right in front of Smith. That is the terrific receiver who someday will have his bust in Canton. Reggie Wayne to the 39, gain of 6 on 3rd and 3 and a 1st down.
Look at Cameron Wake draped around the legs of Andrew Luck. Still the strength and athleticism while on one knee to complete that pass down the field to Reggie Wayne. I think it was a better throw than it was catch, and it was a good catch by Reggie Wayne in coverage against Sean Smith. How do you make that throw? 1 yard shy of the rookie record set by Cam Newton 1 year ago.
Linkenbach has come in on the left side of that offensive line as an extra lineman, 1st and 10. And the handoff to Ballard. He runs the opposite way, gets by Tresney, works his way in the secondary, brought down by Rashad Jones. An 11-yard run to the 29 of Miami.
Oh, they're putting together a drive. 9th play of the drive, little run by Ballard. Look at him just break into the open areas. He sees it here, blocking down the field by Saunders. That's just nifty blocking at the 1st and 2nd level of the defense to get Ballard going.
Extra lineman again is in on the left side, 1st and 10. With the back pedal, looked like Shelby may have tripped him up initially, and then he was hit by Dansby and limited to a meager gain of 2 down to the 27-yard line.
It's just amazing how the Colts really struggled to run against this Miami Dolphins defense in the first half. They've gotten it going in the second half, whether it's DeLone Carter, whether it's Vic Ballard. They're able to move the ball now. And how about Bruce Arians? He's the play caller. He's not giving up on the run game. He knows it's the best thing that he can do to protect his quarterback, Andrew Luck, giving him play-action pass opportunities down the field.
Well, Miami's run defense is number 3 in the NFL, only 69 yards on the ground for the Colts, 2nd down and 8. Stands on the block at the left tackle, and here comes Shelby, and he gets it off with Burnett making the tackle on Dwayne Allen and a gain of 2. And earlier on this drive, Allen had a couple of catches and runs of 20 yards and 20 yards.
You think Luck is earning the respect of these defenders for the Miami Dolphins? The way he's playing, look at this. They'll come and they'll get him. I mean, he'll be hit. He'll be nearly sacked, but he won't give up. Look at this. He still flips this one for a completion.
That's how he breaks the record right there. How about that?
The rookie record set by Cam Newton 1 year ago for passing yards in a single game.
7-minute drive, 3rd down and 6. Getting the hand on that was Rashad Jones. It looked like it was intended for T.Y. Hilton.
That was a good play by Jones. That one is going to be complete down inside the 10-yard line if Jones doesn't slash in to get a hand on it. Watch him dive, extend, knock that ball down.
This brings in Adam Vinatieri.
Luck wanted that one.
He's missed from 48 and 54. The 54-yarder was blocked by Vernon. He's hit from 23 and 47. This is a 43-yard field goal try to take the lead. And it sneaks in. And Indy on top with under 6 to play on a field goal of 43 yards by Vinatieri. 20-yard receptions twice by Allen. And the 43-yarder. Vinatieri 3 field goals. He just put one through from 43 yards away. Luck has 2 touchdown passes. He has set the NFL rookie passing record for a single game with 433 through the air this afternoon.
He's thrown it 47 times in this ball game.
And Tannehill has 234 as Thigpen retrieves and exits the end zone. Lane will be in front. And a tackle knocked off his horse by Darius Butler. All right, here comes Tannehill. He's down by 3 with under 6 to play. Well, for this series, Gerard Powers won't be in. Toe injury, Darius Butler taking his place. Tannehill with his weapons, 1st and 10 from the 21.
You see something.
Play clock at 7, plenty of time. The handoff to Bush, a block by Pouncey, the chase by Zbikowski, and out of bounds he runs at the 30-yard line. A good burst of 9 for Bush, who's got a touchdown run today of 18.
Once he saw Zbikowski move into that too high safety position, he knew he had the numbers in the box to check to a run play, trying to get the ball in the hands of Reggie Bush. When you have numbers in the box, pound the running game.
There was a quick one right there. Flag was thrown on that 2nd down and 1. And the flag was thrown. Pouncey again getting up a little early as they continue to discuss that 2nd and 1 play.
Hey, Tony, it's a pump fake right
Tony
there. Pump fake.
Tony Correni said, hold on now. I'm in charge. And I'll be the last voice.
not the I'm in
Illegal
charge.
substitution on the defense. The 12th player was not off the field at the time of the snap. 5-yard penalty will result in a 1st down.
Well, with Powers out, they've now got to dig deeper in their lineup in the defensive backfield. Josh Gordy will come in and play for the first time in the secondary today. He is the 5th defensive back.
Now they're going to talk about it.
The enforcement of the penalty is correct from the previous spot. 1st down results.
Okay, so there was a penalty on the 2nd one, which makes it 1st and 10.
5 defensive backs, 6 defenders in the box. Tannehill wants to get yards by the chunks, but he'll check to a run game here. They're going to have another conference on this thing.
This button forced him to be that was! God damn it!
I'd like to apologize for that. He didn't know his microphone was on. You see, now he thinks it's on when it's off. Now I think he clicked it back. He got confused where it was. If you're joining us late, Mathis is also out of the game, and Hughes has taken his place. Mathis has been out for a while now with a back injury early on, and we have not seen him since he went to the locker room. 1st and 10 from the 35. Miami with all 3 timeouts. They block Freeney with Long. They get it out to Gaffney, who's brought down by Cassius Vaughn. Shy of a 1st down by a yard. Up to the 44. A pickup of 9 to Gaffney.
And Gaffney's able to work his way back to the ball. Impressed with the way Tannehill standing in the pocket here in the 4th quarter. And this time, Gaffney's able to hold on to it.
5 defensive backs for the Indy Colts. 2nd and 1. Thomas in the backfield.
Black Jill.
Play clock at 2. Moala brings him down in that line for Indianapolis. No gain on the play. They stay at the 44.
False start. Offense, number 68. 10-yard penalty. Remains second down.
Richie Incognito, he had a good game last week against the Jets, too. Moving a little bit early right there.
Yeah, he was moving early, and I think Coach Philbin trying to get the play into Tannehill. Tannehill was trying to get the play set. Then he changed the play to line of scrimmage. That's a long time to ask your left guard to stay in that stance and not even flinch before they snap the ball.
Second down and 6. Tannehill. And with the coverage by Butler, it was intended for Hartline. It's incomplete. Now it'll be 3rd and 6.
He's matched up where you said Butler in for power. Little push off there, trying to come back to the ball. Now if they have time to protect it, Darius Butler's been known as one of those aggressive cornerbacks. He had played with the New England Patriots, played for Belichick's group. He can be beaten on the double move. But does the protection hold up for Tannehill long enough to execute the double move to Brian Hartline?
On 3rd and 6, Tannehill. Incomplete. The coverage by Gordy. The pass intended for Devon Bess. It's 4th down. Philbin and Miami will punt.
Not well executed. They had this thing covered. Yeah, they were trying to roll out and get him on the edge, but look at Butler's got his guy covered, and then they've got Bess, who's really out of bounds. That play had no shot. Colts were all over it.
Fields on the right. And Hilton is back to retrieve the punt. On the 11-yard line, here comes T.Y. Hilton running out of bounds. And Freeney chases him there. 10-yard return. Luck is passed for a rookie single game record. Now trying to hold on to the lead. Colts are minus a couple of starters right now. The center, Shipley, remains in the game. Samson Satelli's out. And there's a new right tackle, as we've been talking about here for a while, Bradley Saul. So here we go. First down and 10 from the 20. Miami 3 timeouts, Colts with 2. Vic Ballard, the rookie, gets the call. Reggie Wayne block and a tackle there by Carroll. It is a gain of 3 to the 23, timeout Miami.
All right, Kevin, less than 4 minutes to go. If you are the Indianapolis Colts, as tough as it has been to run the football against this Miami Dolphins defense, if you're Bruce Arians, keep the ball on the ground. Bleed as much time as you can off the clock. Allow Andrew Luck to make a play on 3rd down.
Well, coming up, time permitting after the game, the NFL Today updated, and it's brought to you by Farmers Insurance. Join JB, Dan, Shannon Boomer, and Coach Bill Cowher for scores, highlights, and news of this very busy day in the NFL. A lot of close games going on right now. A lot of entertaining games like this one here in Indianapolis.
One thing I think if you're the coach, you got to be aware of, they're going to blitz the run. They know you want to run it. They know you want to kill time off the clock and not have to throw the ball, put it in harm's way. So I think you've got to equip Andrew Luck to make checks at the line of scrimmage when you see they're going to bring an all-out blitz.
Dolphins in their base, 2nd down and 7. Dansby with the nice tackle on Ballard, who tried to juke his way free. Picks up 3. He works his way to the 26.
See too many men in and around the line of scrimmage. So you see Joe Philbin pacing, hoping that he can get a stop here on 3rd and 4th to get the ball back for his offense. This is the Miami Dolphins. We said coming in, they were ranked 1st in the NFL in 3rd down defense. Andrew Luck has had his way on 3rd down. He's converted 12 of 17 3rd down plays in the game. And this is one I think is going to be as important as any.
5 in the secondary for Miami. 3rd down and 4 for Andrew Luck. Dumps it off. It was almost picked off by Smith. Did he drop it? Did he scoop it in? They rule incomplete, and everybody that was watching. Yep, he did indeed. It's incomplete. It hit the turf. 3 different officials signaled the same exact thing, but for Miami, Indy's got a punt.
If he catches it, it's a field goal already. Look at this. There it is right there. Catch that ball.
Oh,
no, right there. It came out.
You're right.
If he catches it, they're already in field goal range, and they're going for the lead on the road here at Lucas Oil Stadium. Sean Smith's got to make that catch for his football team.
Well, the good news is the clock is stopped for Miami with the incompletion. It would appear they're going to get the ball.
Looked like he dropped it, Kevin, when he was trying to get up off the ground.
That might have been it.
He had it caught, made another move, and then allowed it to hit the turf. Wow. He caught it initially. See right there. Then he goes to get up and ball comes out. That's ruled an incompletion. See, he catches it initially. Got the ball in his arms, not on the ground yet. There's the catch. But see, he's not down by contact, so he's still alive. That's going to be ruled an dropped interception by Sean Smith.
Okay, McAfee to punt. Deep back Marcus Thigpen, who does have a 72-yard punt return touchdown in his resume. Beautiful punt. From the 15, Thigpen. Oh, getting outside. McAfee will knock him out of bounds. The punter flag is down. Back at the 27. He just about broke it.
Thigpen, boy, he makes this unit a lethal one.
During the return, holding, receiving team number 14. 10-yard penalty, first down.
Marlon Moore, reserve wide receiver, picks up the call here.
We told you before the game how lethal these special teams were for the Miami Dolphins. Part of it is because of the ability of Thigpen to make plays. There you see right there. I don't know. He was pulled down by
Carter,
the Colts player. I'm not so sure I saw an infraction there at all on the Miami Dolphins.
Well, they're hitting yards. The Dolphins lose 28 yards due to that penalty. It was a 31-yard return.
Yeah, Dolphins coaching staff, they're hot.
Special teams have been so important for Miami this year. They've already got a blocked field goal today. Push in the backfield, 1st and 10, Tannehill. Fasano, first time we've heard his name today. Brought down by Foku. Moses Foku, 8-yard pickup. The diving catch at the 24.
Kevin, I told you I visited the Dolphins during minicamp. The tempo of their practices in which they are able to run off one play after another. This is where it serves them well in the game once they hit that 2-minute warning.
Second down, there's Hartline. It was 2nd down and 2. He's on the side, tumbles out of bounds, picks up 7. Ball to the 32-yard line, and the clock is stopped at 2:14, and that's a look at the target line and where they need to get for the big foot of Dan Carpenter.
Right around that 42-yard line. Brian Hartline had to come out of the game. Looked like he was holding his hip or his upper thigh area.
He had a groin injury and a hamstring coming into today. Thomas in the backfield, 1st and 10. And that is caught. Gaffney brought down by Zibikowski. That's an 18-yard pickup to midfield. 2 timeouts remaining for Miami and 2 for Indy.
Timing, tempo, execution by Ryan Tannehill and this Dolphin offense. It is what Joe Philbin is preaching. He hopes to get it here in the final quarter of the game.
Well, the special teams coach of Miami is that's Darren Rizzi, and he's done a great job last week, case in point. Today they blocked a field goal, and he's over there still pleading his case. So we've got a game here where Andrew Luck has set the single-game rookie passing record with 433 yards. Moments ago, they got a 43-yard field goal, and now here comes Tannehill himself, just about as good, 21 of 34, 276 yards. They began at their 17. They're at the 50 with a couple timeouts. 1st down and 10. Bush got caught up with Foku. Incomplete pass. Of course, we're thinking about Dan Carpenter and where he needs to get his career-long 60 yards. That was back a couple years ago against the Browns.
Yeah, he is indoor, no wind factor. Getting to that 42-yard line feels like he could be able to knock one through. You get the sense Tannehill would love to give Andrew Luck that rookie passing record if he could just come away with the win.
Both these teams, if the playoffs started today, would be in the playoffs. Both as wild cards in the AFC. 2nd down and 10. Running back is Daniel Thomas. Multiple numbers in the secondary. Tannehill overshoots his running back Thomas. 3rd and 10.
Well, Tannehill was feeling the pressure on that one. You know, these quarterbacks are trained, and when they hit that back step, get rid of the ball. So he wants to get rid of it now. He moves a little bit, and then when he goes to get rid of it, the ball sails high on him, over the head of Thomas. So Tannehill lost composure on that throw. Now we got 3rd and long. Got to think this is 4-down territory anyway.
Running back is Thomas. 3rd and 10.
I didn't see any movement by the offensive line for the Dolphins.
They're calling false start.
Yeah, they are.
False start.
Wow.
Offense number 51.
Oh, that made it difficult.
Remains 3rd down.
And it's Pouncey, the center, and he is hot. Let's see if he does anything. Right there. See, that's what they're calling him for. That little flinch there that you saw. Pouncey's got to understand. They're going to call that.
5 defensive backs. 19th total penalty in the game. 3rd down and 15. They need the 40 for a 1st down. Tannehill for Bess, Gordy, and Bethea the coverage. 4th and 15.
Boy, Bess gave it all he had to go and climb up and get that one. Of course, he's not a tall guy anyway, but boy, what effort does he make? This one's going to sail just a little bit high. It's right where you want it, though. Just really tight coverage by the Colts defensively, and Philbin's going to call timeout. He knows it's 4th and 15. Game's going to be decided here. They're going to talk it over.
Miami takes the timeout. 1 remaining.
Well, this has been an up-and-down game, a tale of 2 young quarterbacks. There's a touchdown strike from Luck to Reggie Wayne to get it started. And then Tannehill to Charles Clay, beating Pat Ingram in the end zone for a touchdown. And then Reggie Bush, 18-yard special effect run, taking it to the house, go up 17-10. And then the long touchdown pass from Andrew Luck to T.Y. Hilton. And that's why we have the lead right now. If you're the Indianapolis Colts, combined 845 yards of total offense, 0 turnovers in the game. You wouldn't know we had 2 rookie quarterbacks playing in this one, Kevin.
I hope you can take a look at the 3rd down line. I'll just say it verbally because Indianapolis was terrific on 3rd downs today. 12 of 18. 12 of 18 3rd down conversions.
Wow.
Here we go. 4th and 15. Tannehill needs the 40 of Indianapolis. Flag. Thomas short. He catches the ball, but it's short at the 41. 14-yard pickup. Flag is down.
Flag is down. It's going to go holding against the Dolphins. If you're the Colts, you might as well decline it because it was complete, but it was a 4th down completion short of the 1st down marker.
It's against, you're right, it's a hold against Miami.
Holding. Offense number 77. This penalty is declined. The result of the play, 1st down.
That's your Pro Bowl left tackle, Jake Long.
Hey, it was all he could do because Dwight Freeney was coming. It's all he could do to keep Freeney from getting to your quarterback, and on the 4th down play with the game on the line, you got to do all you can. Right there. See right there? That's the takedown. They're holding just about everyone, but boy, Tannehill took a lick on that play. Just after he threw the ball, he took a hit. Tannehill a lot of credit. He was fighting for his 290 yards passing for his part of it. And Luck is going to finish with 433 yards and a win.
Dolphins with a single timeout. They were short of the first down on the 14-yard completion to Thomas. 1st and 10. This is Ballard chased by Soliai. Hit by Odrick. No gain on the play. 2nd down and 10. Clock at 1:31. 4:33 is a single game rookie passing record in terms of yards.
Yeah, they just used the final timeout, did the Miami Dolphins. Now they just have to hope that the defense can make something happen here.
Colts are over 500 for the first time since 2010, coming in like Miami at 4-3. Home record 3-1. Coming up next, Ben Roethlisberger and the Steelers take on Eli Manning and the New York Giants. Right here on CBS Sports, your home for Super Bowl 47. 2nd down and 10. Miami cannot stop the clock. The rookie Ballard in the backfield. Wayne today, 7 catches. He's on the move. Ballard the call. And they've fallen him with a Soliai tackle and a gain of 3 to the 44.
What a job Bruce Arians has done with this young quarterback. People think just because Andrew Luck comes in so gifted physically and really smart in terms of his football IQ and his overall intelligence as a Stanford graduate, that you can just throw the ball out and let him play against NFL defenses. And Bruce Arians, I think, has thrown the full book at him, and he's absorbed it. He's running it. On 3rd and 7, I think they're going to need to be able to get a first down here if they're going to maintain possession of the ball.
Looks like Miami might get that ball back. If the Colts go on to win, it will be their 5th win decided by 6 points or less. And at home, they'll have gone to 4-1. But coming up, 5 of their next 7 games on the road. They've had a pretty comfortable beginning part of the season with a lot of home games.
But they're young players learning how to win early, and that's going to bode well, I think, down the stretch when you and I will be in New England for that game. That'll be a doozy to watch Luck and Tom Brady go at it. They've got a game coming up in just a few days on Thursday in Jacksonville. That will not be easy. The road teams don't usually do that well in those Thursday night games. So you're right, it's not going to get any easier for Indianapolis. See what they can do on this 3rd and 7. They need to convert it if they don't want to give the ball back to Miami.
It's Ballard. Oh, look at him, backpedal for the first down. And that's all she wrote from Indy.
He's still running.
How about that game-sealing run? And the Colts will win their 3rd straight, their 4th in the last 5. Miami cannot stop the clock. A record day, a historic day for Andrew Luck's 433 passing yards for a rookie in a single game. And a good effort by Tannehill. He was just about as good. And the Colts will go to 5-3. They'll be 4-1 at home. All 5 of their wins by 6 points or less. 3rd consecutive win. They're 4th and 5. And a beauty in Indianapolis this afternoon. How appropriate that the Colts convert a 3rd down, because they finished 13 of 19 in 3rd down conversions today. Solomon Wilcots, Kevin Harlan, good night from Indy.